10,000 meters. It's a special. And my sincerely thanks going to the city of Spezia, region of Liguria, and of course to the Italian Athletics Federation led by my good friend Stefano May. 10,000 meter cup is a special edition. It's born exactly 30 years ago and is still alive. We need, because of you, my dear athletes, this is another opportunity to compete in this, let's say, tough event. My dear athletes, I wish you good luck. I wish you good luck not only for today, for this so important for the European athletics here, and good luck for the future. One more time, I want to thank to all the people who is involved in the organization of this excellent event. And finally, I want to officially declare that 28th edition of 10,000 meter cup, La Spezia 2026 is officially open.
Ladies and gentlemen, the European 10,000 meter cup has been declared officially open by the President of the European Athletics.
Signore e signori, la Coppa Europea dei 10.000 è ufficialmente dichiarata aperta dal Presidente della European Athletics.
Ladies and gentlemen, please stand up for the European Athletics anthem.
Signore e signori, per favore in piedi per l'inno della Federazione Europea.
Well, good evening, everybody, and welcome to the European 10,000 meter cup. We're here in the northern coast of Italy, Spezia, for the 28th edition of this one. Started back in 1997. Some of the past winners then, Yamane Crippa, Jimmy Gressier. Unfortunately, they won't battle it out tonight. Both late withdrawals, but all eyes on Elias Sayuni and Valentin Gondouin of France. It's looking like a French versus Italian matchup for me. And on the women's side, France have a very, very special favorite in Alicia Szabo, second last year. What can she do in 2026? Well, formerly known as the Challenge Cup then until 2005, when this one was changed to the European 10,000 meter cup. And look, it was designed with one purpose, to improve European distance running. We all know the late 90s, it was an East African dominance at many of the global championships, worlds and Olympic games. And now, oh, how the tables have turned. Hey, look at the medal table at last year's World Championships. I mean, we had two men amongst the medals in the 10,000 and the 5,000 from a European standpoint, and Nadia Battacletti getting amongst two of the very, very best distance runners the world has ever seen, also in the 5 and the 10K. So one could argue the 10,000 meter cup has certainly worked. It is doing its job. And as we see, this is section B of the women's race coming out onto the track. They'll be the first race of the evening. Big old field, just over 15 of them in this one. Two sections, or three sections actually. We've seen a couple races previously, but two sections live with you tonight. This is section B, and the women's A section will go after that men's B section, which will be the next race on the track. Warm conditions here in La Spezia this evening, or early evening I should say. 26 degrees, the sun is obviously shining. Sunset not till 9:15, and we hope to have all the races wrapped up by then. And some of these lot might just be celebrating. And I say that because there is a team title on the line, and that really is the focus for this one. It's less about individual honors. Of course, the athletes will care about where they place, but the way they do the team scoring here at the European 10,000 meter cup is not done on positions, but rather aggregate time. So even athletes in this B section, they can count towards the team scores. So the likes of that Irish trio there, Hagar Kearney representing, they've all been out at the European Cross Country Championships at the back end of 2025. And now time to do battle over 25 laps. Still be in with a shout of a podium, the Irish. Time will tell. The Brits have a full squad as well. So do the Swiss, the Italians, and the French and the Spaniards. They're the heavy hitters. We're looking, I think, on both the men's and the women's side. It's going to be a matchup between Italy and France. And unfortunately, news hit, didn't it? Just earlier this week, no Nadia Battacletti. Well, welcome, ladies and gentlemen. We're just picking up these images. What are we, a K, just under a kilometre into this women's Section B at the European 10K Cup here in Spezia, Italy. And I do have to apologise for just losing those images. We had them on the start line, and then just as this gun was going, we just lost images of these women early on in this 10-kilometre race. However, just keep an eye on that 1 kilometre split just inside 3:20. No paces out here. This is going to be a very, very competitive race. Conditions, 25, 26 degrees, sun just starting to set, although it won't fully set until about 8:45, 9 o'clock this evening here on the northern coast in Italy. But there is not a breath of wind, and that is what these track and field athletes will care about. It will be the wind out there. And so, up at the front, very happy to just do the early workload. Gap's just starting to open up already. 22 to go. Well, that's a sight, isn't it? And it's why the 10,000 meters is one of the most exciting races of all. Well, it's grueling, it's enduring, but there is also a large tactical element to it as well. How can you cope with the ups and downs, the surges, and a lot of the athletes just choosing to ignore this early rhythm at this stage? And to be honest, can you blame them? Strength in numbers, it really is at this point in the race. So a few to look out for. I mean, for me, one of the fastest on paper coming into this. If you go on road times, and probably a little unfortunate not to be in that A race, which is coming up in just under an hour's time, is Andrea Romero of Spain, 6th at their national championships over 5,000. 32-13 on the roads earlier on in the year at Laredo 10K. There's so many Spaniards get to enjoy the extremely fast road races on offer time and time again in Spain, whether it's Valencia, Seville, Laredo, Castellon. It seems to be the hub of the fast 10,000 meter racing. So there are wave lights down there. I'm sure some of you with a keen eye might have just spotted those lights on the infield, just hugging the curb as these women continue to work their way around a mile into this one. Single file. Now, you'd expect to see that in a 10,000. Another athlete that we should point out for me is Kauna, the youngster. And again, perhaps a little disappointed not to be in that A section, but to be honest, has struggled over the last few years. Agate Kauna, and you look at her CV, I mean, she's the European Junior Champion back in 2023 over the 3,000, over the 5,000. And that same year went on to the World Championships at just 18 years of age. Quite incredible. With a lifetime best at 31.55, but has struggled since then to really get back to her best. So perhaps today is a huge opportunity for her to announce herself back on the European scene. She just tucked in between the two white vests there. And the two Brits, Holly Weedle, Lizzie Wellstead, just started to drift off this group. It's early to find yourself isolated. They've got a decision to make, like so many others in this field. You really want to be in this front group or that chase group. Still plenty of running in this one.
So this is the situation after the first 2,000 people. We have Joyce Mataglia. That is trying.
So these athletes looking very, very smooth early on through that first mile. We'll run through some of the athletes. The Norwegian is one to watch. Shivak. Again, just 22 years of age, 32.42, her lifetime best. They used track PBs actually when seeding this one, and they tended to use season's best at that as well. So very, very few women in this field would have run a 10,000 this year on the track at least. There's been a couple of opportunities, not many, and most of those out in the US as well. Anyone who comes through that NCAA system is at a slight advantage because in the States it does seem to be the one place where they regularly run 10,000 meter track races. In Europe, they're becoming rarer and rarer actually.
Il ritmo di Spezia 2026 per le protagoniste di questa serie numero 1, Joyce Mataglia.
So this could well be the Romanian up front, Madalena Elena. Get an idea on her very, very shortly, but looking smooth. Little glance back as well, just to see where that pack are in relation to her. She's got a few yards. She's had them since the start of this one and looked very, very smooth from the get-go. It's good to see, and leading that chase group, the Norwegian is up there, the Lithuanian as well. Nekrasini, 34-40. One to watch. Ukrainian, Kahoot. Hagar Keeney's in there, the Irish. Romero, mentioned her, certainly want to watch. Galamani as well, another athlete. Athletes just going for water early on in this one. You have to really. These very, very warm conditions for them, making the most of it on that back stretch. Just drifting out, not costing them anything just yet. So Monica Silva is another one, Portuguese athlete, who's in this one, comes into this in good shape. That's Agliano. He's the athlete leading. I wonder if there's a small pace job here from the Italian, because she's not in Italian colours, and this is an international meeting, the European 10,000 metre cup. And I believe the way she's just checking back, she's on those wave lights. Yes, this is a pace job from her at this stage in the race. So for me, it is the Lithuanian, the Norwegian, just a couple Spaniards in there as well. And I mentioned just as we came on air before we lost the feed, the team title was decided on aggregate placings, aggregate time, sorry, so not on placings out there. So these women, even in this section B, have a lot to run for. They only have one or two representatives in that A race, 3 to score, done on aggregate time. So what can the Brits do? What can the Spaniards do? The Norwegians? It's going to be fascinating, and even the Dutch have got a full-strength side as well. So then they're through 3,000. 9:55 over there on the far side. So another 3:23, and there seems a little bit of reluctancy to go with this one. Look at the athlete just in the dark maroon colours there, Counter, who again just works her way up. The Latvian, fantastic CV. I mean, can you believe she's still just 21 years of age? 33-minute 10K last week in Riga. So we expect her to be in that sort of form here today. Difficult to improve on a 10K time within a week, so I hope she was controlling that one. Well, it's a competition which dates back to 1997, designed with one sole purpose: to improve European distance running. And boy, oh boy, has it done that. When you look at the rise of the Europeans on a global stage, you think to the late 90s, the early 2000s, the dominance of the East Africans. It was rare to see more than one European in a 10,000 metre final or a 5,000 metre final. How times have changed now. And you look at the European 10K record, Clara Lucan, 29.50 a few months ago, and 26.43 for Jan Scrub as well. That's on the road, but I mean, just staggering. Well, that's unfortunate. Is that just seeing that could well be the German? No, it's not. Serbu. Looking at those yellow colours, that's a real shame for her. Her day ends early on. Marlena Elena Serbu of Romania there. And I wonder, you know, heat stroke can hit you hard even early on. They've got a bit of shade on that top bend. They'll appreciate that at this stage. It's a shame the pacer, Matagliano, has pulled off to one side, and now Romero finds herself at the front a little earlier than she would have liked. Keeping an eye on that medical tent, well, they might be busy later on as a few athletes fall by the wayside, but Romero confidently up front. Counter there just sitting back in second or third. She's probably got the most experience out of this field on paper, but struggling to recreate that form of 2023 when she was just 18, 19 years of age. Went to the World Championships, 31.55. He's an Olympian as well. Imagine that, calling yourself an Olympian before your 21st birthday. Quite the CV. So Romero just pulling in one side. This is interesting, just letting the athletes in behind step up, take the running. It's the Italian in our home country. They would have looked forward to this one for quite some time, the Italians actually. And I know it would have been sad news for those in the stands watching, and you at home as well. Nadia Battacledi pulling out on late notice, just suffering with a little bit of illness, a little bit of flu at the moment. But Citino, well, she's setting the tempo early on. Lizzie Wellstead just going through shock. The Irish athletes. And they'll keep an eye on these splits. They were pretty much clipping off 320Ks there or thereabouts. They're just starting to drop off that. The way this race is going, I wonder if they are maintaining that rhythm. That front pack has whittled down, thinned out a little bit, hasn't it? So they go through another 323 kilometers. That's good going in. 15 laps to run. They were 9:55 at 3,000. That's how it stood at that stage. However, 4,000 meters into this one. 10 laps in. Citino is just squeezing, asking the question of those around her. And some athletes still choosing. 15 laps to go, getting near the halfway point. And a little bit like in a marathon, when you've got to be fueling early on, you've got to keep your temperature low. They won't fuel in this one, but it's more about just taking on those fluids so you don't get too worked down in the back end of this race. So Romero, counter, and I wonder if Romero's just looking to cover that move now. She sees a small gap open. She's relying on Galimani, Marta Galimani, the other Spaniard in this one, the veteran, 33:11, her lifetime best over 10,000. So welcome if you're watching, everybody. It's Matt Seddon. I'll be bringing you action from the European 10,000 meter cup all evening long. We're about halfway through, just approaching halfway in this women's section B to really kickstart the evening. The men to go next, and then we've got those 2A races to cap off another historic year for 10,000 meter running. And these athletes will have a lot to run for at this stage. They know what's ahead of them this summer with the European Championships in Birmingham. And we'll keep an eye on that qualifying time and those rankings. I mean, currently, because road times are allowed, 37 women have run sub 32 flat. That's the standard. Ooh, a little bit of argy-bargy there. Counter just looking to jump herself out. The Latvian in the darker colors. Citino back to the front, then Galimani. It's almost like Galimani and Counter just letting Citino drift across them. Go out there, get the water, and then come back, and they're happy for her to lead. They don't really want to lead themselves. So very, very smooth at the moment. Things just starting to bunch. I sense it slowing. The other Italian in this group, Federica Zani. Track debut for her. And she's doing all the right things. The way she's just tucked in there, finding her time, got the hat on as well. Through halfway in. Just approaching halfway, I should say.
There we go, and 13 laps to go, and we've got a group of 8 athletes.
So over on the far side, that'll be the halfway split. We'll keep an eye, obviously 16:30, 33 minutes. So they're dropping just a touch. That's what many of these women would be after, I think. What they'd have in their mind. Some of them, a lot of them have gone much, much quicker on the roads as well. And it shows you, I mean, the debate will start, won't it? The difference between track 10,000 meter racing and road 10,000 meter racing. And for me, it's stark. And conditions, yes, they're brutal at the moment, 25, 26 degrees. But if you're going to race a championship 10,000, the chances are it's going to be above 20 degrees, because anywhere in Europe in August is, 20 degrees plus. In fact, Birmingham could be one of the coolest European championships we've seen for a while. You think Rome, Munich, Berlin before that. We've had some extremely hot championships over the past decade or so. And so if you're a governing body watching this one, this is where you want to pick your team. This is probably where you want to judge your athletes. Interestingly, many of these nations have had their national championships already. The Spaniards just a couple weeks ago. The Brits had theirs last weekend. In fact, any Brits racing today wouldn't have competed last weekend, but their national championships over 10,000 was just a week ago. Poor planning, I know, but it's the same with Germans, the Italians. They've all had theirs last month to try and keep an eye on that team and pick that team, because Europe right now is one, well, it really is going toe-to-toe with the African nations. You think we've got a world champion, a world silver medalist in Gressier and Batacleti over the 10,000, and many, many others. Look at how many women are sub 31 minutes for 10K now versus 10 years or so ago. So then things are starting to get a little cagey. Everyone's just taking a turn at the front, just doing their bit to keep this pace moving along, and that's the right thing to do at this stage. And the only person who hasn't done that yet is Federica Zane, the Italian. Continues to remain very, very patient. Van Kolden of the Netherlands as well. An athlete just nearing 30, track lifetime best of 34.52. Well, she's going to absolutely obliterate that if she stays tucked in that lead group. The Dutch have a very, very deep men's team, and they've looked at this competition and said, hey, this is where our athletes are going to go. They're going to get that experience. They're going to get a taste of flavor for world-class 10,000 meter running, and that's good to see. Some nations just choosing to send 1 or 2 out here. Some going, do you know what? We're going to send 6 and 6, 6 men, 6 women, across the 2 or 3 races they have on offer. Because you don't often, if you don't hit the 32-minute standard, you won't be going to the European Championships. And there will be an argument, should road times count, to go to global championships and European championships. And I think that debate is going to continue on. They do for now, but I wonder if they will reverse back to track times only, because look, there are many women in this field who have run 32 high for 10K, 33 minutes, but only 5 or 6 of them are going to live with this pace to the end, and we're on about 33-minute tempo. We'll get another check on that next split. Coming up then in this women's 10,000 meter section B. So the Italian Citino continues to just push things along, a 3:27 kilometer, and that's why she sensed it slowing. Things were starting to dawdle. Counter went to the front, and she just began to slow things up a little bit to see if they could get through another kilometer together, but that's not going to happen. This thing's going to be single file now. Citino is blowing it wide open. That's a clear injection of pace from the Italian, who's been pretty fearless from the get-go for me. She has not shied away from pushing this one on. Well, Cordula Lasasha of Austria has also hawked Citino pretty much every lap. She hasn't led yet either. The other Italian, Zane, is just going to have to stay patient now. Track debut for her, as I mentioned, but very, very credible road runner. Lots of these athletes set their road lifetime best at the same meets, of course. Valencia, Sion, Laredo, all of those Spanish 10Ks. But now they do 25 laps for real. So then, Annika Van Kolden is just sitting in third, biding her time. Looking very, very smooth. Started her career 800-meter runner, worked up through the distances as well. In fact, very, very new to the sport of track itself. 9:16, her best over 3,000. Converts that to a 15:34, would you believe it? That was this weekend last year. Massive breakthrough for her on that occasion. 32:07 in Valencia last year as well. So we've seen what she can do on the road, and she's tried it all as the Dutchwoman Van Kolden. She's run 800s, she's run steeplechases as well. She's trying to, and I like that about an athlete. They're trying to find what event they're best at, and now she's landed on the 10,000. And you think pound for pound, 15:34, 32:0, very, very accomplished times. And so she commits to the grueling, enduring 25 lap distance. Well, good to see the locals. One thing the Italians and, you know, those countries on the continent know how to do, it's put on a European track meet, don't they? Always a great atmosphere, always in beautiful scenic locations, time and time again. What is Durban, Jackman and Hagakini, the three Irish women just leading what is one of the chase groups. There's several actually, and there's several individuals just struggling, solo grinding out there at the moment. So 8 laps to go, 2 miles of running for these women in Section B. Citino, Lasacha, Van Coleman, and the 2 Spaniards, Ghilamani and Romero. Well, they've quietly sneaked their way back onto this pack, haven't they? And they've been a little bit more patient about it. Citino really did inject some pace. She gapped the field. She threw it wide open and continues to just plug away at the front. And at this stage, this late on in the race, I don't think she's going to get any help, the Italian. Not for me. I think the Austrian is just going to comfortably sit behind. The Spaniards don't seem interested in doing any of the work out there, any of the heavy lifting. They'll leave it late. They've got a good close. All of these women pretty evenly matched. At right around that 32-minute mark. They're running a bit slower than that here today. They'll be closer to 33 if we can see a close.
It's not easy to just interpret this competition today with the hot temperatures ready to go.
But do follow along live.
Incredible race, 24 minutes.
You can capture live splits, that is, as well. So you're watching it live. But live splits over on the European Athletics website. 16:44 at halfway. Citino is leading at that point, and she's been leading ever since. She's done some hard laps out there. 7 laps to run, then still Citino. And it's going to be... There's a decision that these athletes in behind her have to make now. Are they just willing to win here for their team, or are they going to push the bat out, chase the clock a little bit? Because the team scores, it is made up of the aggregate of your first 3 finishes. So they could help their team if they do chase the clock a little bit here today. They will count towards that team title. It's a fantastic initiative, I say. It just encourages the races to get moving a little bit out there as well. 28th edition of the European 10,000 meter cup. I mentioned before, designed to improve European distance running. Job done, if you ask me, when you look at how we're performing on the global stage and the depth that we have. 37 women already in Europe, sub 32 minutes for 10 kilometers. That's spread across the road and the track. And that, of course, is the magic mark to get you to Birmingham in the summer. I wonder how they'll split that. Of course, there'll be some women who won't run the 10,000 in Birmingham. They might be a 5,000 meter specialist or a marathon runner. However, it could well be a headache if all 36 turn around and say, I wouldn't mind taking it apart. Citino certainly looks like someone who wants to be at the European Championships in the summer, comes into this in fine form, confident. You've got to be confident. When you're out front like this, you've got to be confident in your ability, and she is that. Sasha just in second place, where she's been all race long, really. It's almost like she spotted Citino as the threat, as the athlete who was going to get things moving. And you can see most of them now just pouring the water over their heads, just trying to cool themselves down a little bit. It's not about taking the fluids on at this stage. 5.5 laps to run. And keep an eye on those gaps just opening up as well. So we've lost Ghilamani there, who sits in 5th place. So the Italian, the Austrian, the Dutch athlete Van Coleman, and now Romero, who's in 4th, and is just struggling to hang on to this relenting pace from Citino. Bit of strapping on her shin there. I wonder if she's nursing a bit of an injury, because on the road has looked absolutely formidable this year. Placing high on the European circuit out in the Lido. 323 kilometer, 2 to go. So a slight lift. And the wave lights, you can't really see them anymore. They are actually on the sort of black advertisement boards just on the infield there, on the inside of the rail. But they're up the road now. They've slipped off the pace they were after from the get-go, which was around 33 minutes, just under. think they were hoping to close off of that as well. So conditions taking their toll for these women. And I just wonder how much energy, of course, they're keeping themselves cool, they're hydrating, but how much energy it's taking them just weaving out lap after lap. I mean, Lasasha has gone out there pretty much the last 4 or 5 laps, the Austrian, and then filed back in second. Cetino's there, hugging the rail, continuing to press, but those in behind constantly weaving out as we approach a mile to run.
They are changing, they are moving, they are putting up the strategy, but for the performance, we want to listen to your applause, we want to listen to your cheering.
So Cordula Lasasha in second place, the tall Austrian looks to be moving very, very well. For me, tactically, she hasn't put a foot wrong. She stepped up through the distances. Doesn't have heaps of leg speed, so I'm surprised to see her not force the issue a little bit earlier on. She's going to leave it late. She's going to leave it till that last mile, the last 2 to 3 laps perhaps, but 32.51 her lifetime best on the road. So she's probably, out of everyone in this group, one of the closest to her limit. So she'll be quite comfortable, quite happy to sit there. Cetino now, she weaves out. Now this, for me, is an opportunity just to settle back, get yourself into second or third, and then bide your time and try and win this thing. Oh, and what a waste. She moves out, misses the cup as well, but tactically can find herself in second place now. She's let Lasasha, the Austrian, hit the front. 3.5 to run, ladies and gentlemen. If you're watching at home, welcome. This is the European 10,000 meter cup live from La Spezia in Italy, the northern coast, in its 28th edition. And this is the women's B section. As Cetino is starting to struggle. Do you know what? Lasasha has decided that that was an opportunity. Into the final mile, going out for a drink with Cetino, missed it. And now perhaps regretting that one. She finds herself in third and struggling to hold these women. So Van Kolman in second place. She's been in second or third pretty much all race long. Has barely moved, Van Kolman. Very, very smooth, efficient runner. And a measured runner as well, a smart runner. But I must say, the athlete who looked the strongest, tactically for me, she's done nothing wrong. And there was 2 Austrians who came into this one, Redlinger and Cordula Lasasha, who you are watching lead this thing. Final kilometer then, what are we, 30.16 on the clock, 3.17, so that's an impressive lift from her. How close can she get to 33.30, let's say, in and around that? She'd take that, I think. It'd be a track lifetime best for her. Many of these women debuting on the track for 10,000 meters for the first time.
Now we've got Austria.
Don't forget, we've got that A section coming up a little bit later on, just under an hour's time. And Cetino is going to try and work round Van Kolman, the Dutch athlete who sits now in third. Well, that's good from the Italian. Good to see that fight. She's on home soil. Why wouldn't she put up that sort of fight? 2 laps to run then in this women's 10,000. This is race 1 of the European 10,000 meter cup. We're in La Spezia. And what a special venue. You can't see, but when the camera pans out, perhaps in between races, it is just idyllic around here. They've got a beautiful scenic warm-up track, the mountains in the background as well, just sheltering them in this little bubble down here. It's warm, but there's not a breath of wind. So the tall Austrian, who really is finding her feet over 25 laps now. This is a great performance from her, and there are ranking points on offer today. They won't run inside that 32-minute standard, these women. But the best they can do is give themselves some ranking points, and perhaps on the off chance, on the rare chance, they might get a late invite to the European Championships in Birmingham. So far, though, 37 women have that standard, and if all 37 decide to go, there won't be room for these 3 up at the head of this B section. Well, Van Kolman's not done yet. She's rallying, isn't she? She knows she's just got, what, 90 seconds left of pain. But no one is going to stop this woman. She's going to be our first winner of the day. 32.10 at the bell there. She's going to be well inside 33.30. And for me, what can she muster up over this last lap? because we all know championship 10,000 meter running is not just about those who can endure pain for the longest, but you've got to be able to mechanically shift gears. You've got to be able to wind it up. You've got to be able to respond to attacks as well. And Lasasha is showing she's the full package. She can do it all, the tall, rangy Austrian. This is phenomenal running from her. Checks back, 200 meters to run. She's got a healthy winning margin for me. As she moves around, this is the first lap runner we're going to see of the day. We might see a few more in that A section to come. But I think this is when you know 25 laps is for you, when you can endure 23, 24 laps of the track and then start striding out like this, arms pumping, knees as high as her chest. Lasasha, the Austrian, is going to be our first winner of the day as the officials ring the bell lap for others out there still suffering. This lady is going to raise her arms aloft. 33.22, a 3:06 final kilometer. Is impressive closing speed from her. Citino coming through for second for the Italians as they clap with delight. And Van Golben in third. I tell you what, Citino, what an effort from her. Rallied and rallied and rallied, you know. Coped with adversity several times through that one. Missed a couple water stations. Moved her way out. Led for so long as well. But how about that? Look at this from Lasasha. Comfortable in the end. And it's a fantastic final kilometer for her, 3:06, and it's a track lifetime best for all of these women. 33:31 for Citino there. Van Golben, it's Romero in fourth. Citino knows what that one meant. And this is why the European 10,000 meter Cup is so special and is a regular fixture and an aim for so many athletes, because the opportunities are extremely rare, and in fact I think they're getting rarer and rarer to run a track 10,000. And this is why you're going to see PB next to pretty much everyone's name tonight, because it is a track lifetime best. Many of these women have run a minute or so quicker, a minute or more quicker on the road, but when it gets to the track, it's a different beast altogether. It really is. And there will be debates and disputes, I'm sure, over the next decade, should road times count. As we know, the road is becoming faster than the track, really, just purely because of the strength in numbers you get out there for 10 kilometers. As we saw, the tactical element of 25 laps is a whole different ball game on the track. Psychologically, very, very demanding. So a few seasons best in there as well. Obviously, it's the first time in 2026 these athletes would have run over 25 laps. Romero, Gallimani, Zani as well, the other Italian in seventh there, 34-31. We'll keep an eye on a few others. Well, look at that. I mean, is that not perfect conditions? As an athlete, you often have a couple wishes, don't you? And the first one before every race is, I just hope it's not windy. And they can't complain, because there is not a breath here in the Spezia. So we'll go through those results shortly in full detail, but there's no doubt about the winner, Cordulia Lasasha of Austria in second, Greta Citino of Italy with the lifetime best, and also with the lifetime best in third, Annika Van Golben, 33-36 for her. The two Spaniards, Romero and Gallimani, fourth and fifth, 33-41. And 34-10, so the gaps really did start to open up. You look at the gap between Gallimani and Sjøvåg of Norway, and that's 20 seconds between fifth and sixth. And then there really was a little cluster. Zani, Durban, De Bruin, Switzerland, Lizzie Wallstead, 34-35. Well, welcome everybody. If you are just joining us, it's the European 10,000 meter cup in La Spezia of Italy, up on the northern coast here. Beautiful location it really is, and conditions, look at that, not even a flicker. And that, all the leaves behind, it is super still here, but it is warm. The price the athletes will have to pay for light winds is pretty warm temperatures out there, 25, 26 degrees. We've just seen the conclusion of the first race of the day, the women's B section of the 10,000. Went through those results. It was a fantastic victory for Lasasha, the Austrian, who absolutely powered it home. 3:06 final kilometer, showing that she can endure 22.5 laps of the track and still lift it up. Well, Italy have hosted the European 10,000 meter cup on 3 previous occasions. I believe back in 02, 2007 and 2015, which was in fact in China, which also hosted the European Cross Country Championships in Chia. 2016 was European Cross Country Championships, where we saw, and that was the first time we saw the likes of Jakob Ingebrigtsen, Cripper go head to head, and now look at them, global star. So the crowd are filing in here, and they know that next race on the track is the men's B section, but then after that, the 2A races. That's where the team titles will be decided. Individual crowns will be awarded as well. Look at some of the past winners. I mean, defending champions Ephraim Gede and Jana van Lent are not here, unfortunately. Both national record holders. Gede, 27.40, his national record. Track lifetime best of 27.26. And Jana van Lent, 30.10, national record holder for Belgium on the roads. Was once a European record holder. I mean, the women's European record, 10,000 meters on the road, has changed hands 3 times this year already. At the start of 2026, McColgan had it. Megan Keith claimed it. No, Jana van Lent, sorry. Then Megan Keith, and now Clara Lukin has it with 29.50. And has she just put it out of sight for some of those other women? So then these men preparing for 25 laps of the track. For many of them, it could be their very first time running the track 10,000. They would have all experienced it on the roads. That's a given. That's why they're here. That's why they've been selected. They've shown promise. And you could argue this race is slightly more developmental than others. You've got athletes who, like I said, this is debuting over the track 10,000. And also athletes who might just handle and enjoy a slightly softer pace to this one, because you know that A race is going to be 27:30 or quicker. So if you're looking at breaking 28 minutes, you'd rather be at the head of the race, on the wave lights, smooth and competing for a victory, that's for sure. And I think some of these men, most of these men, will be looking to go through that mark of 28 minutes. Many of them have pretty much done so already on the road. They're all very, very close. And when you talk about that, you look at some of the teams, the Dutch and the Irish especially, they are sending out some of their up-and-coming athletes. So you won't see the big heavy hitters from Ireland, the likes of Brian Fay, Darren McElhenney. You won't see Ephraim Gidey, who's been injured actually, but you won't see those guys. And the same with the Dutch, you won't see the likes of Mike Foppen. Distance running stars, national record holder. They will keep their powder dry for the European Championships in Birmingham. There's the up-and-coming talent. Mels, Hook, those guys look here today to prove themselves. There's Matt Ramsden. He won the World Cross Country Championships earlier on in this year, so he's been amongst world-class athletes before. The regular European Cross Country Championships as well. Representing Great Britain on numerous occasions. Jack Kavnar, another man who makes his 10,000 meter debut. And you can see season's best, of course. Not many of them have had the opportunity. Pinto of Portugal. Certainly man to watch. Futsala. And World Ziggy there. Could well be the dark horse in this one. The refugee, 30 years of age. Birthday on New Year's Day. So away they go then, ladies and gentlemen. This is Section B of the 10,000 meter European Cup. We've got almost a full house. Yeah, we have 6 Dutchmen in this one, few Irish as well, a couple Brits. Britain just sending 2 athletes out here to the European 10,000 meter Cup, which is a shame. I just spoke of how for the likes of the Netherlands and Ireland and other nations as well, it's a great opportunity to just start to look after those who are developing and coming through the ranks in their respected nations and get a flavor of 25 laps of the track, because it's a whole different beast psychologically, but also physically, the pounding the body takes over 25 laps. Verse on the roads. I promise I won't mention super shoes too much, but the large groups you can run in on the road, the tailwind courses you can have, very, very few turns and perfect conditions. I think that's something which is often overlooked with the road, is perfect conditions. 9 times out of 10, you go to a beautiful European city, it's 9-10 degrees, it's early morning, there's not a breath of wind, whereas championship 10,000 meter racing is running 20+ degree temperatures time and time again. You look at the Europeans and where that's been held over the last few years, Rome, Munich, Berlin, in the peak of summer, August, September. You know, the temperatures have soared close to 30 degrees on many occasions. So it's what can you do? Look at Tokyo last year, the humidity that the likes of Gressier, Almgren, Kimeli all had to battle with last year. And they thrived in it. So this is a huge opportunity for many of these men. Single file, there's 600 meters in. Irakosi leads. I believe he is the pacer, so you may look at that Burundi flag and think, what's he doing at the European 10,000 meter Cup? I believe he will pace. That women's B section also had a pacer. Matagliano of Italy only got them to 3,000 meters actually. So you could just see, this is a slightly new design actually of the Wavelight technology. That black, very, very small barrier will show those Wavelights for all these men to keep an eye on. They'll also, that's more for the crowd, I think, whereas these men will have Wavelights right on the infield. But difficult to see in this sort of daylight. Whoa, freight tag. Swiss athlete. Here's the man who's going to take up the early running once Irakosi drops out, if he's still there. In second, Ramsden looking smooth in third as well. World-Zegi in fourth, Kavnar in fifth, Pinto, Zacic, and Lonsky. And actually, it's pretty thin on the ground. These men won't like checking their shoulder because they'll realize they might not have too much company as this race develops. You can see already several breakaway groups. And I think, look at that gap. Is it Pinto of Portugal just in about 6th place there in the green shorts? He's now starting to struggle to go with this early pace. On a lap in sort of 68 or so, 22 laps to go. How about that? That's something you don't have to deal with on the roads, isn't it? Even just the psychological battle you have with the lap counter out there. So lots of change. Fritar is missing off that list there to the bottom left of your picture, so ignore that. These men looking very smooth. I mentioned as well, if they are going to make up the team scores, they can from the B race. It is possible, but they're going to have to run fast. They're going to have to run against the clock. Team titles, ladies and gentlemen, decided on aggregate time out there, not position. Doesn't matter where you place. It's about what time you run. First 3 finishes from each nation will be added up, and that'll be how the team title is decided. And it's a great initiative, really, because it does encourage these fast, hard-paced races. Look at the Dutchmen, all working together. There's a couple of Turks in there, actually, but most of them just all working together, perhaps even trained together. And you look at how the power of just a few individuals, Fekibal, Niels Laros, and what that can do to a whole nation, and the enthusiasm they can bring to distance running or 400-meter hurdling or sprinting, for example. And we've certainly seen that. They're in safe hands, although Lewandowski, Niels Laros' coach, Stefan Nielsen's coach, who formerly used to work with the Dutch governing body, was their head coach. Has been released of that duty and now just works with Foppen, Laros, Nielsen, just on a private basis. So these men are swiftly approaching 2 kilometers. There's been absolutely no change so far. You'd expect to see that in a 10,000. This is a pace race. They're on the rail. They've got the wave lights. They mean business. You can see some of these Dutchmen struggling already out there. It is hot, 25, 26 degrees. They'll enjoy the shade up at the top there. They look like they could well be. You can see that green light, can't you, just on those small black boards on the infield. That to me strikes me as the wave lights. There we are, 5:39, another 2:50, bang on. 68s for these men. There's 28:20 tempo. The way Matt Ramsden's been moving and racing over the last few months, really grew in confidence. Had a good European cross-country championships as an under-23, placing top 10 there. From there, went out to the World Cross-Country Championships in Tallahassee. Held his own against what was an incredible field. Brescia finishing outside the top 15. Kip Limo, look at what he went on to do, 2 hours of the marathon. It was always very, very deep. Arguably the deepest race in the World Cross Country. Many will call it the hardest race in the world. So they're well through 2 kilometers, checking back and just seeing a few of these men grab cups, keeping themselves cool. At this stage, it's just about getting the fluids over you. I think less of them are interested about actually taking the fluids on. Interestingly, everyone in this league group, bar Fritar, has avoided that train station, hasn't been interested. Ramsden just sat there very, very smoothly in 3rd place. Tough seeding for some of these men. I always think those who place in the top 3 or 4 in the B section will look at it and go, God, I wish I was in that A race. But like I said, they're debuting. Many of them haven't got a track lifetime best over 10,000. They've done well on the roads. They've proven themselves on the roads, the cross country, but track PBs are favoured here when it comes to the officials and the seeding of this one and season's best. So smooth running from all of these. And I'm sure Ramsden and Kavanagh, the 2 Brits in this pack, will be well aware that Mo Farah still holds the European record, 26:46 for the track 10,000, set back in 2011, Hayward Field. That record has its 15-year anniversary actually in a couple of weeks' time. I wonder, will it last that long? Will it last the full 15 years? Maybe just over. European Championships in Birmingham will be awfully exciting.
8 minutes in this exact moment we can see our Lord and the passage of Irakosa Ramsden
So these men just moving very, very smoothly indeed. I must talk about the road to Birmingham. Think of the European Championships. Look, for the men, the standard 27.50. So they're operating a little slower than that. They're much closer to 28.20. We saw it clipping off 250 Ks. That's 14.10, 5,000. So they'll be in that 28.20, perhaps 28 low by the time they lift and squeeze and race it out over those final few kilometers. But 33 men already have qualified through that 27.50 standard on 3 per nation. That is, there is a little more than that. Look at the depth of France's team. None of France's runners are in this B section. They're all in that A section. They're all 27 mid-men. Some incredible CVs. I think the matchup is going to be France versus Italy in those 2A races. Men's and the women's for that matter. But it does mean that there's no world ranking spots really on offer for these men. If they have to run 27.50, it's that or bust for them. So interestingly there, Pacer decides that he's pretty much done his job and he's going to carry on for a little longer. Gets them beyond 3 kilometers. That's the bare minimum, really. You want them in the race, or Fritar just moves on by. And the pacemaker just struggling to step off. And I think that is because of the small. You can see he wants to drift out to one side, but that small black board, they're on the wave lights. They're right on those green lights there. And this is World Azigi. Who's on the athlete refugee team, and he now leads this one. And they'll welcome that. Ramsden, Frittag, and Kavanagh will enjoy the fact that he's happy to push the pace, happy to sit up front, stay on those wave lights. I'm sure they can see them their side as well. But it's just a day like, yeah, they can. It makes it a little harder. So they'll force this now. At a time in the race where I'm not sure, there's some reluctancy. I don't think they really want to push things on too much. They're yet to hit halfway. You very much just want to key into your effort. See how you're feeling. Just tick off a few more laps before you start to press, before you start to be too aggressive, because it will come back to bite you. And I'm also intrigued to see how Frittag does, because he keeps drifting out time and time again. Not on this lap. Ramsden for the first time, along with Pinto and others, just moving themselves towards the water stations. They'll come back in. It's only in lane 3. It's hardly a big detour, but when you do it lap after lap after lap, it is sapping. It's a lot of movements. You know, you wouldn't keep looking to overtake people and drift out. Plus, at this speed, they've got to go grab that cup as well. And those who've experienced some half marathons, some marathons, perhaps might be a little bit more in tune with taking on fluids in this one.
Il supporto per i protagonisti di questo race.
Janko Karlik is the man in 5th place. The Slovenian. Looking quite smooth as well. Started his career over 800, 1500, worked his way up through the distances. National record holder on the roads, 28.45. So it's a bit of a surprise to see him. By the way, that was in Italy. He's come over and he's going to hit 2 10Ks in the space of a week. And that's 28.45 just last weekend. And that will help him. Perhaps he is someone who's looking at that European ranking, because you need 2 10,000s. They take your best 2 10Ks in about a year's window. He's got 1,064 points for that road 10K. But it's good to see him in this group, because he's punching above his weight a little bit at the moment. Like I said, with that lifetime best of 28.45, no track pedigree to note of, and he's in and amongst it, and they're moving at a swift old rhythm. So still, World Azigi up front. Frittag in second there, Ramsden in third. Small gap back to Kavanagh, Kokiji, and then Pinto are your next 3. So here's 5,000 meter split will be coming up. Not this time around, it'll be on the next lap. Otherwise they really would be flying. But Wadazigi, for me, has took this one up, and he's up at the front. He's doing the work. He's moving it along. He's keeping it honest, but he's not really pressing. He's not asking questions of these men. I think Freitag senses that, and he wants a little bit more. He wants to chase the clock a bit, and he senses the fact that those in behind could be struggling. He could break things, and the constant changing of pace. As we just look back to Freitag just moving his way, just cruising around the shoulder of Wadazigi. And it's so tough. You can be in second and third, and you can think you're fine. You can think, I feel good, I feel smooth. Get on the front, and it's a different story. It's not even any wind out there, but just psychologically, it's a different story. It just feels harder. And that's why you look at Ramsden still just bouncing along. Kapner in behind him, Kokiji as well. Those guys are just being very, very patient.
Il passaggio a metà gara, quello dei 5.000 metri, con sempre lo svizzero Freitag a guidare con
Pinto, Kakuli moving well, those two. There is another Portuguese man in this one, actually. There's a couple out there on the track sharing the pain. 14:28 at 5,000 meters, 2:57 kilometers. Now these guys will rep that. They won't be happy with that. They would have seen it, but I think at this stage, as a group of 6, you've just got to win this, and actually you've just got to hold your nerve. The idea of a fast time is gone now. You know, they're not going to make a minute up. Many of them would have liked to perhaps target 28:20, even quicker than that, low 28 minutes. They're in that sort of shape. And moving that well over the shorter distances, the 5,000, the 1,500, cross country. But that time isn't going to come now, and I think it's going to start to get even cagier than it already is. There's some surges out there, and this is good championship experience for all of these men on their track debuts. They're having to cope with a few. So Wadazigi, a part of the refugee team, still leads, but not really doing much. Kavanagh decides he's drifting out, signals he's drifting out. Well, that's good sportsmanship, isn't it? Freitag there in second. Ramsden has not left the rail. I think he left it once, 10-12 laps in. I think he decided he was going to go get some fluids, get a bit of water over his head, but this is a man who is icy cool at this stage. He looks very, very comfortable. So does Kavanagh. We could well see the two Brits go toe-to-toe. Pinto, Kokali as well, they're just on the back of this group, and it's starting to dawdle now. You can tell the way it's bunching up. Wadazigi is not doing enough to really keep this pace honest, but unfortunately, I don't think any of the others want to be at the front. They'll avoid that if they can. And I think some of those athletes in behind are going to start to come into shot more and more. 2:57 for that previous kilometre. Got them to halfway, basically at 14:30, 29-minute tempo.
Goes on, they're not giving up the goal, so maybe this was the right strategy. Congratulations, guys, you're offering us the most incredible show.
Well, we're getting a good show out of it, aren't they? And those of you who are tuning in from around the world, welcome. This is the European 10,000 meter cup in its 28th year. Started back in 1997. One purpose: develop European distance running. And it's done that. In many ways, we've had some incredible battles. You look at past winners: Gressier, Cripper, Batacletti, McColgan. They've all done it. And often you could see the athlete who comes and claims a European 10,000 meter cup title, and then 2-3 years after that, what they go on and do is always quite telling. Gressier's first title back in 2022, Cripper back in 2018, 2019, his victory. Unfortunately, those two late withdrawals from this one. What a matchup that would have been. Well, we'll wait until Birmingham for it. It'll come, I'm sure.
There we go. Are you
We'll just
ready?
have to wait until
Here we are
August.
celebrating the great sport performances
European
offered by these
Championships.
incredible heroes. Today we go Charles Desi, Matthew Ramsden, Jack Kavanagh, Rui Pinto, Nino Freitag. You are our protagonists. But speaking about strategy, there is the Italian Lorenzo Brunini that is setting on another one, chasing so far and changing the region. Maybe there will be another attack. Let's see what happens.
So then, if you want to see these splits, you can follow along through 6 kilometers, 17:27. So virtually another 3-minute K, 14:29 at halfway. So still a lot of running left in this men's 10,000 for the first time. Now Zakic, we're going to see of the Czech. He starts to move up. Apologies, had him down as Kokelali of Slovenia in this one, but yeah, Zakic looking very, very smooth and just starting to force the pace. And I did look at him for a while, and he was just on the back of this pack, Martin.
Zajc, Freitag, quindi i due britannici, Lawson e
26 years of age.
per queste prime 4 posizioni.
Just starting to really develop. He's very similar. When you look on paper, all of these men are very similar. 1340-ish, give or take a few seconds each way over 5,000 on the track. They're all 28 low men, 28 mid men over 10,000 on the roads. It's Zacic is the Czech national record holder on the roads, 28.19. Guess where it came from? No prizes. Valencia. Just like many other lifetime bests always do. And I mentioned during the women's race as well, will we start to see selection policies reverse back to just track performances? Because you can see what these guys can do on the roads. But it's a different game altogether on the track, isn't it? Freitag, bless him, has followed everything today. The Swiss athlete. Has he been out of second at any point? Well then, Zacic sensed this thing slowing. The man from the Czech Republic, and he's just looking to string things out. He's doing that. He's not lifting it drastically. He's just turning a few screws, asking a few questions. There's still, well, almost 3 kilometers left of this race, just over 3 kilometers. Freitag is just hassling. I mean, he's been up and down a little bit. He's been in and out for sure, grabbing fluids, keeping himself cool. That may well pay off, just the fact he's been able to control his body's temperature for just under 30 minutes of running, better than anyone else. So time will tell on that front. Ramsden has not left the rail. He hasn't had to make any moves. And actually, if you're in this group, there is no need to make any moves. Why would you? All you're doing is wasting energy. No one's going anywhere. They're all on the pace. If you want to have a go at the front, drift round, be my guest, says Ramsden, but I'm not going to. I'm just going to carry on sitting here. 3 minutes for that kilometer. So they are really slowing now. This is tactical, ladies and gentlemen, but it's European 10,000 meter cup. There's a title on the line. There's honor there. There's pride there for these men. They're getting a taste of championship running. With the Commonwealth Games and the European Championships that await this summer, they won't mind that at all. And they're going to have to learn to hold their nerve. I mean, what was Gressier's winning time last year? 28.50 at the World Championships. So there's nothing wrong with the pace these guys are running. They too are just letting that pace drop in the middle. Well, good to see some of the aspiring athletes coming out and watching this one. What it can do to a local town, a local community to hold or host, shall I say, the European Championship. Well, a few grimaces, a few puffs of the cheeks. Business end, we're into the final 3 kilometers. Walter Zigi looks at this one, and a few of them go off to get some fluids down and pour some water over their head. They move to the right-hand side to get the cups, and Walter Zigi decides, you know what, this is where I'm going to surge. And this is the problem. When you have those water stations, the temptation to drift out is there. They have to do it really for the health and safety of those out on the track. So I'm not arguing against that, but it's the timing, it's the tactical element. You've got to be super, super aware of what others are doing and strike when perhaps they are all the way out into lane 3 and just focusing on grabbing a cup, not keeping their rhythm. So Walter Zigi asks a few questions. Freitag, has he pulled off? Looks like he has. It's unfortunate. I did say he was just making so many surges early on to try and stay cool. And he's paid the price. Well, the lap runners might cause a few problems later on. The Dutchmen were a group of 5 or 6. Now they're fully separated. Those guys learning the hard way. What a 10,000 meter race on the track can feel like. So, Walter Zigi, part of the athlete refugee team. Zacic in second, Ramson in third, and you know what? Pinto has had a very, very smart race, just sitting back in fourth. He hasn't been anywhere near it. He hasn't responded to any surges. If there's been a surge, in fact, he's let the gap open up. Smart racing from him. Good race IQ out there from the Portuguese man. So ladies and gentlemen, welcome if you're just joining us. 5 laps to run, another 3-minute kilometer. That last 3K, by the way, 8:58 for these men. So it's really, from 5K over to 8K, it really has slowed. And you know what? Even the slowing of that pace has managed to get rid of a few. Kavnar starting to struggle now. He's off the back of this group. Pinto in fourth, Ramson, Zacic, and World Azigi, who for me was struggling. Approaching the 5-kilometer mark, this man was really struggling. Had to take a few turns in the pack. Had to just relax, compose himself, settle, and then back up front, happy to push. And look, I've been lucky enough to see Matt Ramson develop over the last, well, especially the last 12 months. He really has come into his own. He's been in great form. Out at the World Cross Country Championships earlier on in the year, getting a taste of that top flight athletics and cross country running against the very, very best in the world. Held his own at European Championships in Portugal in what was warm conditions then as well, as an under-23 athlete. He's been winning domestic races back in the UK, and he's got a very, very good close. He won't know much about these two men in front of him though. Zacic and World Azigi, all they know is their lifetime bests on paper. They're both 28-minute low men on the roads, and that's about as much information as he would have been able to capture heading into this one. So he won't know when's best to strike, but he's going to start thinking about it, that's for sure. So are the two in front. Zacic and World Azigi contemplated when that move might happen. And for me, you've got to strike when those around you feel vulnerable. It's often when you feel vulnerable as well, though, isn't it? You have to just bluff in distance races. And Zacic, well, he could well be doing that. He looks tired. He looks like he's on his last legs, but he's just going to force it one more time. He's just going to ask questions of those behind him. May as well make it hard heading into these final few laps. So the man from the Czech Republic, their national record holder on the roads. 28:19 for 10 kilometers, set back in Valencia in 2026. He's been in great form ever since. And now, once again, though, we admire the slow motion of his move. And now, it was all for nothing. Deja vu from a few laps ago. World Azigi and Zacic on his shoulder. So I mentioned how Pinto has just covered everything. Surges have played out. Pinto hasn't been interested. 2:59. It's interesting. They're running these kilometer splits in a fascinating way for me. Kavnar struggling. He'll soldier on. I think you would, you know, on your Great British debut, you would definitely want to make sure you finish this one. Freitag unfortunately stepped off. The Swiss athlete, he was involved in this front group for quite some time. By the way, that's a lap runner who's just hanging on to these men. He's just benefiting from the fact that they are forcing the issue. Two laps to run, then 800 meters of the track. They'll rep that. Things have got to get moving. Surely this last couple laps aren't going to be 3-minute K pace. We're going to see a blistering final 400. And I mentioned early on, once they were sort of outside 14:20 pace at halfway, I think they'd accepted this was going to be a tactical race for the most part. It was going to be who could stay in it, who can hold their nerve, who could be patient for as long as possible. And it was indeed the athletes on screen. And I tell you what, actually, do forgive me. Brunier there of Italy, I thought he was a lap runner, but he's worked his way back to this group as they've been slowing, as they've been running 3-minute Ks for the last 4 kilometers, 12 minutes that last 4K, pretty much. He has managed to work his way back onto this group. Now he finds himself in contention with a lap to run. What a story this would be for the Italian. On home soil. It would be very, very special as well. Well, they're optimistic in that A race, that's for sure. Elias Sayuni leads the Italian team. But Brunier, this is an inspired run from him. 28:10 or so just at the bell there. Zacic leads. Kick him round. This won't be the first kick that Ramsden's had to cope with before. 300 meters to run. He's right on the shoulder. He's looked so good, Ramsden. He hasn't led an inch of this race, but don't be fooled. Sometimes athletes, especially at this level, they can make it look easy. So has he got the change of pace? The Czechman is making it very, very hard for Matt Ramsden of Great Britain, who has got gears when he's fresh at least, but not usually after 23, 24 laps of the track. And here goes the Brit. He makes his move. And I must say, he's looked very, very good. He hasn't put a foot wrong. He's come here to win. I bet when he saw he was in this B section, he said, you know what? I've got to make sure I get over the line first. Forget the time. This is championship experience. And this is a flavor of what's to come. Well, pretty much a 60 last for Ramsden. 29:11, 2:43 last kilometer. Pinto shakes his hand. And they'll see each other again soon, I'm sure. Probably not in Birmingham. They won't have done enough to be there in the summer, but over the next couple of years, it's always interesting, isn't it? The development of this race, often a catalyst for athletes' careers, and I feel Matt Ramsden could be in that camp. Zacic in second, and Pinto in third.
Wow, we really had the possibility to see some incredible performances. So far.
And one of the best things about this race is you are practicing not just championship racing, but also running in these conditions, going through the warm-up process in these grueling conditions out there, 25, 26 degrees. Sun is setting though. It's still pretty toasty for a lot of these men. And there we are, lifetime best for Ramsden. Brunier as well, 29:17 PB for him. And star of the show, he was just always there, wasn't he? He was always there. And the 10,000 is an event you have to be able to focus for obviously a sustained amount of time. Cover moves, stay relaxed, go through hard patches, times where you feel full of running and times where you feel very, very tired. And Ramsden coped with it all.
First and then we can expect incredible and thrilling performances. Stay with us.
Well, he's a man to watch, and I'm sure many back home in the UK would have kept an eye on that. And whenever it's a tactical race, there's only one man who walks away happy, and that's the guy who's won. Everyone else is disappointed. Why didn't I push the pace more? Why did I let it drop to 3-minute Ks? Why did I trust in my kick so much? But the man who wins it, the man who kicks away from the whole field, he's happy. He can live with the slow time. He's got a win to his belt at a European level. But I think many of them will also be asking themselves, Jesus, what do I need to do to get better at this event? Because it's very, very different to anything that they would have mastered before. They've all got impressive 5K lifetime best, 13:40 in that sort of region. Kavanagh, by the way, was a silver medalist at last year's British Championships over the 5,000 meters. But the 10 is a different event in itself. And just because you can run a good 5,000 does, it's a bit like the half marathon and the marathon. You see those who can run electric halves and they can never quite translate that to the full 26.2 mile distance. And the 5 and the 10 for me are very similar. I think it comes down to more your mentality, your psychological abilities in the 10,000. You have to cope with a lot more during the race. You have to be a very, very rhythmic runner. You have to be in tune with your body as well. Your pace judgment has to be exceptionally good in the 10,000 because of how conditions can affect you. Obviously, the shorter you run, the less the conditions do get in your way. Well, that wraps up the 2B sections, okay? The 2B heats are done and dusted, and now we look ahead to the women's A race. This will crown the team title and the individual title at the European 10,000 meter cup here in La Spezia, the northern coast of Italy. And if you're just joining us, welcome. 28th edition of the European 10,000 meter cup. Formerly known as the 10,000 meter challenge. Name changed back in 2005, actually. But I know it's a race, and you look at actually past athletes who have competed here. We've seen, Paula Radcliffe, Dyla Baumann. We've seen some incredible runners over the years compete in this one. But it's an event that, for me, is growing in stature as well. You look at some of the races that we have, and because there are very few opportunities over the 10,000. I think the opportunities are becoming less and less as well for these athletes. This has got to be a target for pretty much any European athlete who hasn't had that championship exposure yet to come here and use this as a catalyst, as a springboard for your distance running career. Well, so far the conditions have indicated that it is hard out there. It is hot, it is hard, there's not a breath of wind, but we're 25, 26 degrees. And the pace, or the goal pace, we've been well short of the early pace. And it was demonstrated really in that men's race as we scan over some of the results. Some of the athletes out for like 30 minutes. I mean, many of them would have split that in a half marathon. So they'll be slightly disappointed with their efforts, but they'll move on, they'll recover. So look, you may have seen earlier on in the week the withdrawal of Nadia Battacletti on Wednesday. It's a real shame, suffering with a bout of flu. Opened up her season with a 4:05, or 4:03 was at 1500. Actually in Italy, was looking forward to coming here and claiming the team title first and foremost for the European 10,000 meter cup, and no doubt the individual title. I mean, she's a class above pretty much any European now. That being said, the European 10K record on the roads has been slashed down to 29:50. Clara Lukeman, and I'm sure Battacletti will have her eyes on that. But with her absence, for me, the door does open to Alicia Szabo, the French athlete, Mariana Mercado as well. Portuguese woman comes into this in great form. And how about Elżbieta Glinka of Poland? 4 years ago, was a recreational runner with a 93-minute half marathon lifetime best. Now at 32 years of age, comes into this as one of the race favorites. Well, you can hear the tension down there trackside, can't you? There's the scout as we go through the start list. Lucy Jones, good cross-country, good winter for her. It's perhaps not at her best over the shorter distances, but perhaps it's because she's training for the 10,000. You can't do it all. And these women will start to realise that as they develop through their careers. You've got to put all your eggs in one basket. You've got to commit to a discipline. The depth in this sport is just way too much now to chop and change, unfortunately. Alvarez of Spain, Jess Martin, what a story. More on that during the race, but long story short, 8-year absence, started a family, now back at her best. The Rio Olympian, Emilia Quirk-Pazosa of Spain. There she is then, Alicia Szabo. Second place last year, the runner-up on that occasion, going from strength to strength. Former Oregon University student Barreiro of Spain, Del Bueno of Italy, Palmero as well. These two are very experienced over the 10,000 on the track. They race a lot. Any opportunity, actually, for 25 laps, and they take it. 3 or 4 10,000s last year, and I'm sure they'll do the same this year. Looking at Del Buono, 31.25, that best from Rome in 2024, the European Championships. Huge category. Well, it looks like it's going to be Spain versus Italy, doesn't it? Irene Sanchez Escribano, 3,000 meter steeplechase Olympic finalist, and now negotiating the 10,000. Seems to have committed to it. Seems to have left the steeplechase behind. Many reasons for it, but one could only presume injuries played their part. So then, moments away, the women's 10,000 meters European Cup. And away they go then, the first of 25 laps of the track here in the northern coast of Italy. Someone is about to be a European 10,000 meter champion for a short while, until Birmingham at least. And one nation is going to be crowned European champions and will hold dominance over the rest of Europe over 25 laps. Is it going to be Spain? Is it going to be Italy? For me, they're the heavy hitters. They're the ones we look at who really have a chance. There's a couple Dutch women in this one, Irish athletes as well. Great Britain, can they get amongst it? They have won this title on numerous occasions, 3 or 4 occasions pre the pandemic, actually, have struggled since then. They did rely on the likes of Eilish McColgan, Steph Twirl to really give them that low score. The team title, for those of you at home, is calculated not through positions, not through where they finish out there, but rather an aggregate of the first 3 finishers from each nation. So you do need to chase the clock. You have got to run to the death in this one because you don't know how close it could be. You won't get that feedback out there. I don't think anyone, I certainly won't be doing that maths for you at home, so I do apologize, but perhaps you can try once a few cross the line. So what was that? 73.74, lap 1. Well, it's pretty swift, isn't it? Looking at about 31-minute pace. Early on, 31, 31.15, 31.30 would be a great mark for many of these women. I tell you what, the French athlete, you can see Alicia Szabo just in 3rd place. Here, October of the Czech. Well, we saw Zacic in that men's B race, didn't we? Looked very good down to the wire with Ramsden, but October, I think, is the reluctant athlete in 2nd place. But Szabo looks very, very smooth. The decision for her is when she saw Battacletti scratch, she might have looked at this field and thought, this might be an opportunity for me to do it the hard way, front run this thing, and she seems like she's willing to do that. She's already getting a gap on those behind her. Rocktrova could well be. I know the athlete out front is a pacemaker. However, Rocktrova, I am not 100% sure, so I do apologize there. We'll find out soon enough. Rocktrova's lifetime best of 33 minutes would indicate that she is a pacer. And there you go, Szabo decides, right, I'm off. I've got to go round. We'll keep an eye on that chase pack as well. We've got 2 groups here. And an athlete just stuck in the middle, I think, deciding that I'm going to just put the brakes on, let that pack behind swamp me, settle in, and at least have some company for the opening mile or 2. So then it might not just be Szabo who features. I mentioned the Spaniards, Irene Sanchez Escribano, 32-22, 11th at the European Championships over the steeplechase, and 11th in Paris over the steeplechase as well. 31-35 on the roads. Many of these women have sub 32 minutes. The European qualifying standard is 32 minutes flat for them. They do count road times, 37 so far when you look on the road to Birmingham. So that's 3 per nation have got that standard boxed off. So for many of the women in this field, they've got the standard. This is the practice championship style racing. This is to see what you can do in hot conditions. They're not necessarily benefiting from a pacer further back as well. They have got the wave lights that they can just have a small reference to how they're moving each lap. But I don't think they'll pay too much attention to that. You've got to listen to your body in these conditions. You can't just run to the clock. Not a breath of wind, is there? Well, Italy will also host the European Under-18 Championships later on in the year. That'll be in Rieti, a track which is home to so many world records. World records of the past, that is. Don't think it holds any current world records. It's where we saw Rudisha first break that 800-meter record as well. So Szabo looking very, very smooth, and oh, she'll come round back to the start-finish line, and we'll keep an eye on that mile split, but you can just tell straight away, can't you, that she is the class of the field, just the way that she skips off the ground. The French woman, 31.50, just still 24 years of age, 3 times the national champion. And for me, her breakthrough really came when she stepped up to the road, when she started to attack the half marathon. There we are, 4:58 there for the mile, there or thereabouts. And now holds that national record of 68 minutes and 20 seconds from Valencia last year in October. But studied this event and works hard. And the distances a little shorter on the track as well, the 5,000, the 1,500. That was the benefit she got studying it out in the NCAA. Went to Oregon, got exposed to championship racing, and it's something a lot of women in this field haven't had yet. Championship 10,000 meter racing, even championship 5,000 meter racing beyond the national championships is rare for a few of them. So they'll be looking to book their ticket to Birmingham. Just drifting round that top end. Here's some of the chase groups out there on the track. So it could be a long day for Szabo. I'm sure she's well aware of what she's going to have to do out front, leading this one. But yeah, like I mentioned before, Elżbieta Klinka of Poland, I've got to bring her into the picture. And she's in this chase pack. And one of the reasons for that is, yeah, 4 years ago, she was a fully recreational athlete, 93-minute half marathon lifetime best, and now right on 32 minutes for 10 kilometers on the roads. And we are at a day and age in our sport where we're starting to see more recreational athletes really pick our sport up, perhaps a little bit later on in life, and train like a professional 4 or 5 years. And it's so accessible, our sport, as long as you find yourself a good coach and you're able to be patient and put the work in and stay committed. There often is no limits, and Elżbieta Klinka probably can't even believe that, but she is a fantastic inspiration to anyone out there who is enjoying watching this 10,000 meter race and thinking, I wouldn't mind doing that. Well, it's possible. Even if you haven't broke 90 minutes for the half marathon yet, it's possible. So this time last year, it's Jana van Lent who won, pulling away from Alicia Szabo in the closing stages. Look what Van Lent's gone on to do. Szabo's come back for redemption. She'll be disappointed there's no Batacletti. She'll be disappointed the Belgians, actually, who are the defending team champions, haven't really got anyone to note here today who is going to compete with the French woman. And you think of the team they could have, the success they've had on the European stage. Jana van Lent, Chloe Herbier as well. They've had a brilliant team in the past. And Van Lent, former European 10-kilometer record holder. So the next split we'll get, ladies and gentlemen, will be the 3-kilometer split. And we're going to see something around about 9:10, 9:15. Went through 2 kilometers, 6:12. Keeping that rhythm just pretty steady at this stage. This is where
women.
It's going to be difficult though for Szabo. Once the pacemaker peels off to one side, she's going to be all out there on her own. Pack behind, they'll be enjoying that shade on the top end. Very, very beneficial for them. They can keep that pace honest. No one at this stage wants to help the Irish woman, who is just leading that chase pack. Allen there at the moment. Palmero's in behind her. Del Buono as well. Nimbona, the other Italian. So they are, well, the team title is almost wrapped up. The Spaniards are a little bit further back. They're playing a patient game. You can see them in the bright orange and yellow strips in that second group. So if anything happens to Del Buono or Palmero at this stage, then perhaps the Italians can try and get amongst it. Alicia Barzosa is another athlete, 32 minutes 10K, third at the World University Championships last year. That's where she ran her PB, 31:38 over 10K on the roads. And is one of the few athletes who has a little bit more track experience. Did go out to California this year and run a 10,000 out there at the Sound meet. Sanchez Escribano, that could be a sad day for her. Tough day at the office if she's already dropping off. Didn't quite get a look on that bib number properly. But it's all Alicia Szabo at this stage, isn't it? 17 laps to go. And just out front, cruising along. She'll want the pacemaker to stay in this for as long as possible as well. 3 kilometers in 9:22. I'm sure many of you would have seen that flash up on the screen. But very, very comfortable. That was a 3:10, so she's gone 3:05, 3:07, 3:10. So they are slowing a little bit out front, but that gap is growing. So she's just steadying the ship a little bit. She's just got to get through the next few kilometers. I think once you're over halfway, you can start to grow in confidence a little bit, depending on how you feel, obviously. But that chase pack aren't coming back. Still plenty of running left to do. And Szabo's definitely an athlete we look at and we go, yeah, she could well feature in Birmingham. Depth on that women's side at the moment. That said, the European record down to 29.50. That's on the roads. On the track, of course. 29.06 a fancy sound. How about that? I think that's going to be safe for a few years, isn't it? Goodness me. Out in Hengelo a few years ago, just in that coming out of COVID. That's when the world record was set as well. 2021, Cheptegei and Gidey. Gidey 29.0, Cheptegei 26.11. But they haven't really been threatened for a while, those records now. And I think it's just because of the opportunities to do a fast 10,000. To do a 10,000 in perfect conditions is very rare now. There aren't many track 10,000s, let alone ones in cool, calm temperatures, wave lights, pace, competition to take you deep into the race as well, to do battle with. You don't see it often. But it takes an athlete to even get into that sort of record shape to want to attack a record. Many of them are happy just battling out here, as you can see now. So do forgive me, the Czech athlete is still in this one. She might not be pacing. She's faded back a little bit as we look at the Spaniards, a couple of Ukrainians as well. Emilia Quirk, I could just see tucked into that pack. Lucy Jones, another Portuguese athlete. So there we go, Szabo continues to lead. It's another 3:10 kilometers, so I'm pleased to see that actually, just because it shows that they were getting slower and slower and slower through that first 3 kilometers. It was 3:05, it was 3:07, then 3:10, but now they seem to have found a rhythm at 3:10, and that's encouraging because you can just clip those off and then look to rally, really, when you get into the business end, those closing kilometers towards the back end of the race. Current European lead, ladies and gentlemen, Lisa Merkel of Germany, 31:32 in California. Her lifetime best of 31:10. Shows you the level you kind of have to be to translate that road time to the track. It's probably worth 20, 30 seconds in these conditions. Might even be more than that. So when you look at Szabo, when you look at what she's done on the road versus the track, she's 31 flat runner on the road. That's from Prague last September. She really was in terrific form then. Bit of a twilight period for her. Prague into Valencia, 31 minutes equated to 68.20 over the half. Well, I wonder if any others want to help out in that chase pack, because there's a world here where Szabo is going to be on her own for about 5 kilometers. And can they work back to her? Palmero's lead, Allen in second, got the Turk in fifth there, Galaikas, Mercado. Mercado's an interesting athlete, representing Portugal. Really comes into this in great form. Another athlete who's smashed. That's a 32-minute barrier. So we'll look for that 5 kilometer split. It'll be in a lap or so's time. It's going to be just around about 16 minutes, so much closer to 32 minutes, which actually many of these women coming in would have looked at that and thought very achievable. They want quicker. They want to see how fast they can go in track conditions. And we do look actually at that track national record. Meg Deswaldo of France, 31.23, set last year in. I wonder if Alessia Szabo is starting to realize that that's slowly just slipping away from her. The French woman. Good to see these pockets of athletes. You can see the Spaniards working together. Klinker, the Pole I mentioned, just in that group as well. A couple Brits further back, a couple Italians. You have to. You have to hang on to anyone you can in the 10,000. You've got no choice. Even if you feel like they're just going a little quick, just get a toe for a lap or two. You've got to break this down. And there's a few experienced heads on the sidelines. They'll know that better than anyone. I do fear for Palmera, the amount of leading she's done in that chase group, all out on her own. She too is effectively front running. 3:13 in 15:46, so slows again for Szabo up at the front. However, not necessarily in control of that herself. She's just in behind the pacemaker. Francine Mia Mokununzi. Who is doing a fine job, I must say, to take Szabo beyond 5K. That will be greatly appreciated. Of course, she'll thank her after. Szabo's going to need that sort of support. Yildirim Bahar, the Turk, third at the Turkish champs. Now just moving up into second place in that chase group. Watch out for her. I do fear that a lot of these athletes have run their national championships 3 weeks ago. Italian championships was a couple weeks back. Turkish championships 3 weeks ago. Dutch championships, Spanish championships. They've all actually already run a track 10,000, many of them. And that is because there would have been a selection to get here to represent your country at the European 10,000 meter cup. So what's the fairest way of doing that? Well, holding a championships. But also this race goes a long way in the selection for the European Championships in Birmingham as well. Some nations are spoiled for choice. Italy, France, definitely in that camp. Whereas others are just looking to try and boost their world ranking and perhaps even sneak under that 32 minutes. At this stage, though, the only person going to do that is probably Alessia Szabo. What is she, 10:15 ahead of that chase group who went through halfway just under 16 minutes. So it's on for them, but they're going to have to keep it pressing through the hardest part of this race. So time and time again, count the laps down with me, 11 to go. Could you imagine seeing that? It's something Szabo's getting more and more used to as she develops. Came through the NCAA system. For me, that's an advantage. Was exposed to 10,000 meter track running early on in her career. As a youngster, she's still only 24 years of age, so very much a youngster still. But 19, 20 years of age, running 5,000s, running 10,000s on the track, learning this grueling event, this enduring event. How to judge your effort. It's far more effort-based than people give it credit for, the 10,000 on the track. You cannot go in with sort of splits and an objective in mind, because, look, you're throwing a curveball. You're throwing 25 degrees, the sun just setting, beating down on you. You can't predict what others are going to do around you as well, so you can't really control much. So you just have to listen to your body. It's the only thing you can go off. And try and work to get where you can, and these women are doing that. So Palmero off to the side, gets some fluids, Del Bueno as well. Those two had a great battle in Birmingham last year.
We're already over half of the competition. There we go, and this is a big running applause for Alessia Zarbo.
Palmero,
how consistent.
Extremely strong. 3:12 then. 10 to go for Zarbo. Palmero coming off a marathon debut in a marathon PB of 2:24 this year. That was in Seville. So just had enough time to turn around. Interestingly, Ilya Sayuni in the men's race, 2:04 performer in the marathon earlier this year in March. So similar time period, has also recovered, reset, got into a track block, and is now going to run the track 10,000 and looking to book his ticket to Birmingham in the summer for the European Championships. What a matchup we're going to have. Just think, Saab, Battagletti, Van Lent, Megan Keith, possibly McColgan, Clara Lucan as well, the current national record holder on the road. I mean, we are going to have a very, very exciting matchup, aren't we? I hope they're all in the 10,000. Fascinating to see how those tactics unfold. Spaniards, interesting enough, struggling for me, and I mentioned many of them have done their national championships literally just 2 weeks ago, and I think they're paying the price for that. They might have booked their ticket to come here and compete in the European 10,000 meter cup. They're not enjoying themselves at all, and they're good enough to be in that chase group. Ferrero, 31:30 performer. She was 5th at the national championships a few weeks back, snuck into that top 6, but she's run 5 10-kilometer races plus the World Cross Country Championships this year and a half marathon. It's been a busy start to 2026 for her. I think that's why she finds herself isolated. So this group blowing wide open now. Alan, the Irish athlete, looking very, very smooth. Zarbo just looking to struggle. She won't like this being out there. The minute the pace had dropped off for me, she did. You could tell things started to slip. She held it together for a kilometer or so. She was 3:12, but that grimace this far out is a worry for the French woman. And she's being chased. Elzbieta Klinker in 2nd place. Palmero as well. Or was the camera angle a bit deceiving on the backstretch? But those are the two who are giving chase to Zarbo. She can't show any signs of weakness. The minute you show signs of weakness, these women behind, they're going to hang on to that. That's all they're going to run for over the next few laps. If you just keep your pace steady, you make sure that you don't have any drastic slowing of the pace. If you're going to slow, do it in a very, very measured way, so it looks like they're not coming back to you. But if you just have a rough 200 or a rough 400, they know. They know, and Klinker is onto her. It's a good atmosphere down here. Cowbells are ringing so often. We see that at a 10,000 meter races. By God, do they need it. Palmero in 3rd, slight nod of the head. Just want to get a bit of grip on how that gap is looking. Zarbo to Klinker to Palmero. What is going on in that top 3? This is a bit further back. This is an interesting team battle. You can see the Ukraine athletes sticking to get 3:16. Now that split will be taken off Zarbo. As we see a few more go through that start-finish line. Oh, look at this. Zarbo, Klinker in 2nd. Palmero as well. Camera was on her. Oh, this is extremely telling, isn't it? Just look at the facial expressions from Alessia Zarbo. She was 2nd last year, runner-up. It was a completely different race. She would have felt the pressure to go after the pace in this. She would have come here going, well, what's the point? If I'm not going to challenge to run sub 32 minutes, why bother? And went through 5 kilometers, 15:46, way, way ahead of the chase pack. But now things are starting to change. Elżbieta Klinker in second place, the pole, 4 years ago. 93 minutes for a half marathon. Her journey in this sport was just starting. Meanwhile, Alessia Szabo, studying out at Oregon University, in her peak at the NCA. The difference in pathways in this sport, that's what's exciting. There is so much opportunity. Doesn't matter who you are, where you come from, you can make it to the very, very top. And if Klinker pulls this off, this will be the biggest victory of her life. And she'll celebrate that all the way back to Poland. I think Szabo's race, she could well be slowing things here. She could well just be backing off, measuring her effort, let Klinker come back to you very, very gradually, and then rally. Let someone else lead. And then rally those final few kilometers. It all depends how Klinker approaches her. This is contact now. Contact, there's the yard. Now, Klinker, what are you going to do? 6 laps to run. Are you going to go straight by? Are you going to force the issue? Stick a thorn in Szabo's side over this last 2 kilometers just over. Or are you going to bide your time, sit there, mess with her psychologically? The options are there for Klinker. She wouldn't have found herself in this position much before. A lot of her career, she spent time on the roads. This is a fascinating track duel, isn't it? One of the ages. There's Amelia Quirk and Lucy Jones just on screen. Those two look to be just sharing the laps out, the two Brits. I've seen Jones lead for a couple times at Quirk, and that's the advantage of having your teammates out there on the track with you for 25 laps. Oh, that's cruel from Klinker. Decides she'll get up to Szabo and she'll sit in behind. Szabo looks to just be lifting it now. You could tell by the cadence. Went through a rough patch. Now Klinker decides to strike. Szabo checks over. This is a world-class athlete in Alessia Szabo. Second last year. She'll be tough to beat now. And I wonder if that was the right decision. Elżbieta Klinker of Poland. She continues to press. 3:15. What was Klinker's K? It must be much, much closer to 3:10, perhaps even 3:08. So mechanically, she's operating at that rhythm and she's starting to hold it. Szabo's doing all she can to hang on. She knows that if the gap opens now, that's it. Done. Race over. And Palmero is going to be giving chase to Szabo in behind as well. She could well struggle to hold on to second place. But Klinker is looking so, so strong. Well, Poland had their national championships back in April, so she's had 4 or 5 weeks to prepare for this. That was her first sort of experience of track 10,000 meter running, 32:18. The national record she holds, 31:47 on the roads. Again, no prizes for guessing. That was set in Valencia earlier on this year. She even dabbled in the marathon. Like I said, she started as a recreational runner. She started running half marathons, 2:34 for the marathon. She quickly went from a 93-minute half to 2:34 in 2024. And back in 2025, she was 33rd at the European Championships, European Road Running Championships, I should say, over 10 kilometers. But I tell you what, just going from strength to strength. Szabo just struggling to get round that group of Ukrainians. One Spaniard in there as well. She's still battling for second. She knows she's got to keep plugging away if she's going to defend that silver crown from last year. But Elżbieta Klinker, this is a name for the future. You go through the record books. You go through the past winners of this event. You look at Jana van Lent, Alina Ray, Yasmin Khan, McColgan, Twirl, and you look at their careers, what they went on to do. And we could well be watching this back in 3 or 4 years' time and thinking, well, it was obvious. Look at the development of Elżbieta Klinker so far and perhaps into the future as well. Palmero battling hard, the Italian.
So we've got the Polish.
She knows there's a huge scalp that lies ahead in Alessia Szabo, but also this could make a difference to the team title. The faster she runs, don't forget that team prize calculated by aggregate times for the first 3 finishers across the line of each nation. No team title for Klinker. She's the only Polish athlete here today as she laps the 2 Brits. Those runners at the head of this field will enjoy the fact that there are runners to lap out there. There's runners to aim at, to hunt down. That will keep them motivated. 3 laps to run for Klinker. And oh, how patience has prevailed in this one. It so often does, doesn't it? And Elżbieta Klinker knows she's just got to keep plugging away. She's hurting bad, but that gap is there. Szabo is being chased by Palmero. Look at the Italian on home soil. They will go nuts if she challenges Szabo over this last kilometre. That gap is getting shorter and shorter. So another 3:15 for Klinker. It was the 8th kilometre, really. She put her foot down. She rallied. She closed the gap. She worked up onto Szabo and then decided to just measure things a little bit. She has to really. She has to be safe. She has to make sure she gets to that finish line in one piece and can rally again over the last lap.
We want to listen to you, all the
And after this performance, no doubt, she'll turn her head. She'll prepare for those European Championships in Birmingham, what, 8 weeks away now? 8 to 10 weeks' time. Tickets still available for you at home. I think the women's 10,000 is on the second night of the championships, actually, 16th to 26th of August at European Championships in Birmingham. So what a story. This is a new face for many. She's been quietly working her way up on the road scene. 32 years of age, but in her absolute prime. And what's next for her over the next couple of years? We will find out, I'm sure. Alessia Szabo, still just 24 years of age. Last year got silver behind Jana van Lent, who went on to break the European 10K record on the roads. And today, perhaps slightly disappointing for Szabo. She had no option. She was cornered, really. It was to go with the pace or sit back and wave a fast time away. But I think she's done that anyway. Look, they're going to come up with a lap to run. Klinker's going to be around about 31:40, you imagine. So the bell lap for this Polish star, Elżbieta Klinker. Her lifetime best of 31:47 on the roads. Can she run an outright personal best here today in La Spezia, in the northern coast of Italy, in extreme heat as well? It's 25 degrees out there. I noticed on that last lap, she grabbed a little cup of water, just wanted to cool herself down a bit. She had time to do that. She let Palmero lead that chase pack for so long as well. This is a runner who a few years ago was a recreational athlete. She's not running like one now, though, is she? How quick has she learned and picked this event up? This is a dominant performance from the pole, showing that no matter where you come from, who you are, you can achieve amazing things on the European stage and possibly the world stage. Who knows where she'll go next? Palmero's rallying. Where's Szabo? Is she in shot? She looks like she's just a little too far ahead, but Palmero will do her best to hang in there, run a fast time for the team, help towards that team scoring. But what a run from this woman, and just inside her lifetime best, 31:45. Elżbieta Klinker, 2:58 final kilometre. That will turn a few heads. And Szabo comes across the line. 31:56. I'm a little confused. Palmero as well. Just outside 32 minutes. And the reason I say I'm a little confused is because I saw a few athletes stop who were definitely lapped athletes as they went through the finish line. And I'm sure they've realized they have to get going again. 25 laps, not easy when you're in the hurt locker from probably about lap 5 or 6 in these conditions. These women would have been struggling. Well, Palmero, time and time again, we see her in the track 10,000s, really gives it her all, doesn't she? 3 or 4 years, she's been getting more and more experience. 19th at the World Championships last year. 31:18, her PB. Well, confused, surprised, can't quite believe it, nor can we. 31:45. One of the few athletes now who has a faster track lifetime best in road. Elżbieta Klinker. Palmero will rest, I think. Spread herself out over the track for a little while longer, but there's the closing scenes of Klinker. just passing Jess Martin, who, speak about stories, 8-year absence for her. Rio Olympian in the 10,000, went away, started a family, and now back in British colours. So great to see. Ah, yes, it was Lucy Jones. You see just in the shot who sort of stopped, confused, thought she was done. Just coming across there, you can see questioning, do I have another lap? Yes. Yes, you do. Tough realization for her. Well, Elisa Palmero, we'll look at the team standings, but I think Italy have swept that. No question, really. Now, Palmero actually not showing on the results just yet, but definitely there in third, and Del Bueno in 6th place, 32.27. Palmero had it basically 32 flat, and just waiting for a few more Italian results to come through. But yeah, those two way ahead. 2 Spaniards around 32.30, so it might be close. All depends. It's hanging on Lanedo and Pereiro actually. Sanchez Escribano as well, to see what she winds up in. But last time around, it was the Belgian women who won this title, and I think it's going to be the Italian women. I think it's all but confirmed, actually, judging by these images. And my, well, limited mathematics skills, it's not too difficult to work out. The Italians are European champions. Once again, on home soil as well. And to think they would have had Nadia Battacletti if it wasn't for a nasty flu. Pulled out during the week. They would have wiped the floor with it, wouldn't they? And oh, how things might have been different for Alessia Zaba if she just had a bit of company through that middle part of the race. Instead, she had to hang on and suffer. Still came home in 31.56, which is a very, very credible performance from her. Elżbieta Glinka. 31.45. Was the winner here tonight. Palmero, actually, result just coming in, being corrected, 31.59, sneaking that 32-minute barrier, which, by the way, was the European standard, not that Palmero needed. She had it already during the window. But a nice reminder, she's still in shape.
Guarda, io ho ripreso la spagnola solo perché me l'hai detto.
So welcome everybody, if you're just tuning in now ahead of that men's A race up next at the European 10,000 meter cup. These are the closing scenes of that women's race. Italy, team champions. The team title decided through an aggregate scoring method across the first 3 from each nation across the line, and Italy enjoying that one, enjoying the celebrations. So they should. On home soil, they play host to this competition for the 4th time, actually, since the competition was created back in 1997, 2002, 2007, and 2015. It was in Chia, which also hosted the European Cross Country Championships. And they're another nation, aren't they, who are just developing at an incredible rate. You look at Italy, France, Spain, and the athletes they're producing, they're churning out now. It's just a conveyor belt of distance talent. And clearly they've leveled up the coach and they've professionalized the coach and the club scene as well. How that works is very, very professional. And more importantly, they're willing to host, you know, world-class meets, whether it's World Tours, European Cups, European Cross Country Championships, and that every single one of those you host just inspires that new generation to come through who look at track and field as a career and fall in love with it, just like we all have. That's why we're here. Saturday, 23rd of May, 2026 for the European 10,000 meter cup. One more race to run. And that'll be the men's A race. You can see them out on the track. They're fortunate that the sun is pretty much setting. It says there's a little bit more shade on the track than there was for the earlier races. I think sort of 3/4 of the track now is under some nice cool shade. And there's just a little bit of sun still exposed. They may well be introducing one of those watching on in a few years' time. We sure hope so. So back in 1997, this meet was founded. 28 years later, Elżbieta Glinka, 31:45. Sneaks her road lifetime best of 31:47 for the win here today. Massive upset on Alessia Szabo. Jess Martin, Emilia Quirk, Charlotte Dannett there. You see the two Italians as well, Nibona and Donito.
28 athletes representing the 30 nations taking part in this 28th edition. And really we can
there
expect great performances along our 25 laps.
So just the three women inside that European standard, a 32 flat. And Gelijkers of the Netherlands, 32:01, just missing it. Big lifetime best for her as well. Mercado as well, track lifetime best, 32:11. Neve Allen, who did a lot of the front running or was in that chase pack for a while, 32:15. Just talking through those results in a little bit more detail. And from the team perspective, I think it'll be Italy and possibly Ireland, and then it's going to be close between Spain and Great Britain. There we are, actually. I'm busy trying to work it out. It's on the screen. Italy, Ireland, and Spain. You can see their accurate times. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, just one more race to run. These men are being called to the line. It's the European 10,000 meter cup A race. And the seeding for this, quite simple, really. Anything sub 28. Look at the men on your screen there. Robin Hendricks, European star over the cross country. Ilias Sayuni, 2:04 marathon man, back in March. His development has been staggering. What can he do over 25 laps? Couple pacemakers in the Burundi athletes there, who wear bib number 70 and 71, so they obviously won't feature in the European Cup.
And now we have an important communication. We have finalized and officially stated.
France are the defending team champions in this one. Defending champion Efrem Gide is not here.
Spain.
He's been injured.
Second place
He's recovering
female athletes from
from
Ireland.
a stress fracture. I'm sure he'll be back next year. Perhaps might even be back in time to challenge for the European Championships in August. He's got about 8 to 10 weeks. You would have seen the news. Yamani Crippa out, muscle fatigue post the Paris Marathon. Couldn't quite turn it around in time. 6 weeks ago, that marathon ran 2:05 then. We'll forgive him, shall we?
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the
But the Italians will be very, very optimistic for individual and team success here. Despite the withdrawals of Crippa. Well, Bastian Augusto really is a phenomenal character. One of the fastest in this field as well on the roads. He's 27 mid-man. You can see that season's best. Not many athletes would have opened. A few nations have, well, quite a few nations have had their national championships to select their team for this. Well, Guerrero is certainly a man who needs to run well here and support and back up the performance of Ayuni, the Italian youngster, the under-23 medalist at the European under-23s last year on the track over 10,000. So I want a big performance today. Well, as Marty, you've seen him on some of the posters. They love him. Big fans of him in Italy. Well, Guillon, the Frenchman, Baptiste Guillon, 28:09. Incredible his career. He's dabbled in many events. Former steeplechaser, good as well. Medaled at French championships over the steeple. Now adapted to the 10,000. Ayuni, third at the World Championships Marathon last year. There he is. High hopes for him for the Italians. Sport in the cap. Well, he's cool, calm and collected, and he's a man who will be used to hot and humid conditions. His performance last year at the World Championships was very, very impressive. Backed it up in Tokyo 6 months later with 2:04. Robin Hendricks, specialist on the mud. Looking to develop on the track. Over 25 laps for me, Hendricks, 31 years of age, just outside. His lifetime best just outside 28 minutes, 28:01. He has broken the 28-minute barrier on just a couple of occasions. Those performances have come on the road. So Italy have won this men's team title 5 times in the 28-year history of this event. Well, away they go, and in for the final race of the night. It's the men's 10,000 meter cup. Ilyas Sayuni, high hopes on him. He's there in the cap, and he looks committed to getting behind the pacer. He's not afraid to go to the front of that group early on. Look out for the French trio. Augusto, Gondouin, and Guillon. All of those men capable of mid-27 minutes for 10 kilometers. Gondouin, for me, European Championship half marathon bronze medalist just last year. Just like Guerra, has some under-23 credentials as well at European level. Couple medals picked up there. Still just 27 years of age, 60 flat half marathon runner, and a part of that world cross-country team. We know Gressier, Scrub, they had an incredible team, the French, didn't they? Tried to challenge the very, very best in the world. Put up a good fight. He was 34th on that occasion. And this is interesting then. So there's 60, most of the group through in 68. This is a very, very similar story to that women's race, but I think Ayuni will be pleased to see Gondouin and Hendricks actually, Guillon and Hendricks actually go with him. Because it means there might be they might be able to work together a little bit so that chase pack doesn't come back to them so quick like Elzbieta Klinker managed to do on Szabo. Now chase pack won't have as much of an advantage. We see a couple Spaniards leading that. Different pacer altogether as well. So Ayuni come here and he means business. He knows that he has to go and hit that Euro standard, really. He's been running a lot of marathons over the last few years. He's developed sensationally over the marathon to get down to 2:04 as a European. Spends a lot of time out in Kenya training. That standard of 27.50 is on his mind. And look at this already. Guillon decides, no, I'm not going with that. So Ayuni on the green lights. It's going to be a long day for him. Is he prepared? If anyone is, it's got to be a marathon runner. Hey, someone who's run 2:04, they're used to grinding away. He documents a lot of his training on YouTube, like so many athletes do now. They really open up the curtain to behind the scenes, their lives. And we can see, you can get to know Ayuni in a lot more detail. Another man who's just gradually rose to fame. And so far, 33 men have got that standard of 27.50. 3 per nation. Of course, on the road to Birmingham. Which means world ranking spots are all but irrelevant at this stage. And Ayuni knows he needs that standard. So he's prepared to get after it. What a last Italian to win this title, Yamane Crippa. He's a 2-time champion, actually, was looking for the hat trick. And he would have certainly been a man who would have been happy to go with that 27.50 tempo, would Crippa, but struggling to bounce back from that Paris Marathon. Ayuni had a bit more time. Tokyo Marathon was in March. And he delivered a performance that probably the rest of the world knew was coming after that bronze medal at the World Championships. So we'll keep an eye on the splits. We'll look at the mile as they just continue to cruise through, these men as ever, making it look easy. That's what the best will do. 2:45 to bang on 66s. That was what that first kilometer was. We'll keep an eye on the mile and the next kilometer, but pretty simple job for the pacer at this stage. Just stay on that green light, don't move, keep a nice even rhythm, and he's doing that. The wave lights in behind as well, I believe, are a touch slower, and I think Ayuni in that 2:45 is moving much closer to low 27-minute tempo. It's bold, it's brave. You could see the others who actually, the blue lights, one can only imagine, would be 27:50. So Ayuni, well, he must know when athletes come into a race and they're willing to get on it and push the pace from early on. Of course, he's got a pacer to help him out now, but that'll change, and he'll know. You know, he's an experienced athlete. He'll know that'll change at 4 or 5 kilometers. The pacer won't be there, and there's every chance Ayuni's on his own and has to be for the last 4, 5, 6 kilometers of this race. But is he prepared to do it? Yes, he is, and the greats can. When you look at when the likes of Bakili set his world records, it was pre-wave light technology. He would have a pacer for 3, 4 kilometers who could try and hold 62, 63, 64 second laps, and he would have to do the rest. And same with Harley, same with Paul Turgat, same with those greats. Things changed for Cheptegei. 26:11. He had the lights to constantly just chase and chase and chase back in 2021. I remember that historic year for Cheptegei. That was in Valencia, wasn't it? And we haven't really seen a man or a woman chase those records like we saw coming out of COVID. And I think partly because you have to know you're in that sort of shape. Those records are so hard now. They are so demanding. How do you get yourself into that shape when more often than not, these men in this race are preparing for a major championships, whether that's a European Championships or World Championships. And in that, they're preparing for a tactical 10-kilometer race in extreme heat and extreme conditions. And that's a very different approach to that of a time trial in perfect conditions. Very few 10,000-meter races now are run in perfect conditions. Gone are the days. They still have the Hengelo meet. They've gone are the days of those golden galas where you would be guaranteed a fast 5,000. Brussels as well, fast 5,000, fast 10,000, 3-4 times a year on the continent. Those days are gone, and that is why this European 10,000-meter Cup is so important. To its single file, as you'd expect to see. Not much changing, really. Not much to report early on in this one. The chase pack doing their job. The pacemaker leading Hendricks, Guillaume, Manacha, Perez, Morgan, many others. I'm excited to see what Callum Morgan to do. He started well, hasn't he? The Irishman. Another nation who had a full-strength side here today. They could have challenged for a team medal. You think missing Brian Fay, Darren McElhenney, Jack O'Leary even, what could they have done? Ephraim Gide, the defending champion, not here. Simon Bedard is a man I haven't mentioned, a Frenchman. And actually has a season best to his name, Bedard, 27:42, his lifetime best, Butler University graduate. And like so many, he's in that group there. You can see the French athletes with the red shorts, the white vests, easy for us to spot. 4 of them packing very well. 3 Spaniards also in that group. So it's going to be an interesting matchup. Jesus Ramos, 27:49 man. And has a 10K under his belt already. Ran the Spanish National Championships just 2 weeks ago. 28:48 on that occasion. He's going to go quicker here today. I can assure you of that. But his lifetime best from the European Cup 5 years ago now, Birmingham. 27:49. So these men doing what they need to do, finding the rail, avoiding any surges in rhythm, just trying to be as smooth as possible, sinking in with the man in front stride, looking at that contact off the track, staying relaxed in the upper body, perhaps even staying cool over on the far side. We've seen less in this race go for water on the backstretch, actually, if anyone has moved out of lane 1. And you can see shade covering the full 400-meter oval now. There was a period when we first came on air where the only bit of shade was a tiny little patch up on the top end. So Ayuni still leads. And he's clipping off 66s, 245 kilometers. Time and time again, through 3K in 8:15. And that's 27:30 tempo, should be 13:45 at the halfway.
We're at minus 17 laps to go.
And you think of who we might see at the European Championships, who might face Ayuni, Crippa, Brescia, Gemelli, Almgren.
And we've got another incredible performance so far by the Belgian, Robin
Scrub,
Labalu,
the defending champion. The list goes on and on and on. And we could have a world where there's 8, possibly even 10 men who are capable of running 27 minutes or quicker. Thierry Ndikumanayo, the Spaniard, haven't even mentioned him. So right now in Europe, we are spoiled for 10,000 meter runners. And I think one of the reasons this meet started way back in 1997, 28 years ago, they wanted to develop European distance running. You would look on the world scene, there would be 1, maybe 2 Europeans in a 10,000 meter final. Now, you've got 2 on a podium, and how things have changed. So the European Cup over 10,000 has really served a purpose. It's done its job. And now it is about titles, it is about that team prize as well, representing your country. And there's no better feeling, there's no better prize for the men and women out there. Often it becomes a higher reward to pull on your country's vest than it does to be a national champion. That's just the nature of our sport. It is about going to the global championships, to the European championships, and putting on your international colours. 2:44, so they're just fractionally quicker than they have been. That's the quickest K of the race for Ayuni up front. He looks very, very comfortable at that as well. Ramos now leads that chase pack. You've got Guillaume Gundian, Augusto's in there, and Simon Bedard. So 4 Frenchmen and a couple of the Spaniards, I think, are just starting to struggle, just dropping out of that group now. And we'll keep an eye on the Italians as well, because Ayuni is going to give them a pretty quick clocking when it comes to aggregate times as well. So a lot could change. The team prize not done on positions, but rather the aggregate time. It's the first 3 per nation. That'll be used to calculate. So Guerra just knows he needs to hang on there, limit the damage between the others. Can he stay in that group? The youngster, Samuel Barata of Portugal, their 8-time national champion. Sub 28 minutes so often, 8-9 times in his career now. 59:40 half marathon best. I mean, he's in that chase group as well, the Portuguese athlete. And I think that group is just starting to break up a little bit for the first time. You see those, what was less than a meter between each runner is now becoming a little bit more like a meter or possibly 2 to some of them. So Ayuni sitting where he needs to be, right in behind the pacemaker, just drafting, just switching off. This is what a marathon runner can do. Flashbacks of Paula Radcliffe in 2002 in Munich. That terrific run she ran, completely solo effort just outside 30 minutes. It was one of the best performances the world had ever seen, over 25 laps. And Ayuni's not quite that. I'm not comparing him to Paula, but I'm just saying the ability that these marathon runners have to switch off, lock into a rhythm, and just flow, just skip off the ground, just trust they'll be okay. They're so in tune with their body. They've got so much strength as well. You go run 2:04 in March, you have an engine. And Ayuni's got one of the biggest in Europe. He's one of the fastest marathon runners Europe's ever seen. And I wonder if he has an eye on that national record. Goes round the pacemaker. Pacemaker tries to hang in. You could see that little graphic bottom left of pitch is just changing a little bit. And Manacho, Guillon, good Leon Severolo as well, Hendricks, they're all in there. All of these men who are capable of 27.45 really is where a lot of them sit. 13.45 at halfway, another 2.44 kilometer for Ayuni. And actually, he's starting to look quite eager. He's starting to look like he'd be happy to move this along. He's on the heels of the pace up, and I wonder if he's just going to give it another K. He may as well. Still a lot of running left. Well, the Italian national record, ladies and gentlemen, 27.10. Yamani Crippa back in 2019. That was in the World Championship final. And when you go through the list of the national records, many of them are actually set in global finals now because the lack of these real pace, sharp 10,000 meter races where everyone comes together. Look at Gressier's national record, for example, 26.58 from the Olympic Games in Paris in hot and humid conditions then. Same with the Spaniard, Thierry Manayo. Andreas Angren, very, very similar. So Manacho just swapping places with Guillon. A good amount in this one. Those two just exchange the lead in behind the pacer, who's also still in there. They're making a huge difference, these pacers. Guerra's off. He's done. He's off that pack now. He's got a long way to go. Hendricks is up ahead of him. He'll hold on to that boat. European bronze medalist over the cross country, Robin Hendricks, has yet to really show that promise and convert that performance to the track. Well, it was an extremely muddy day in Brussels back in 2023, wasn't it? And Hendricks carved through that mud better than anyone. So Ayuni just looks fantastic. Smooth as you like. Well, last year was a breakthrough year in many ways on what he could do at a European and global level. And he would have come into it. He started off his year with the European Road Running Championships. He contested the marathon on that occasion, won that in a championship setting. That was obviously at Belgium. Looked really, really strong. It was only a 2:09 performance, but it was the win that counted, showing that he could do it in a championship setting, and then back that up. Come September, third at the World Championships in Tokyo in extreme conditions, survived, coped with them better than anyone else. And then went again. So he's had 3 marathon builds, and now he deserves a little bit of a break, wants to sharpen up on the track. Pace is just dropping those green lights. I wonder if Ayuni's noticed. 2:46 there as they go through with 10 laps to run. 4 kilometers. Salvarado, Bedard, Guillon, look at all those Frenchmen in this one. Team title. Well, unless Salvarado does something special, team title is going to go to France. It seems that way. Ramos has just started to drop off. Manacho as well has been up and down in that group. He's just starting to struggle. So, could we see an Italian 1-2? Oh, that would be something for the crowd to really cheer about. They dominated that women's race, really, didn't they? It wasn't a contest. Now they look to dominate this men's. Well, Salvarolo then, Pasquale. Salvarolo, 27 years of age, coming into this in good form. He's had a few races under his belt in 2026. He was third at those Italian championships a month ago. But what that's given him, it's only 29.50, but what that's given him over the 10,000, just learning the event, just getting used to 25 laps on the track. The tactical element to it as well, knowing how it feels. And that's given him a lot of confidence. He is a 27.50 man. And Ayuni's running himself to a big lifetime best as well. I wonder what's going through his head now. He's just starting to think, look, the pacemaker's still in it. He knows the pacemaker's slowing. And I wonder if he just says, look, enough's enough. And I feel like he's just itching to get going, Ayuni. But he doesn't quite have the confidence to really start to stretch things out, because in reality he knows the minute pacemaker's gone, it's me to the death. And as I say that, the pacemaker will peel off, start to drift out, and I wonder if Ayuni just gave him a nudge and could sense that, look, you're going to let those four, that quartet of Frenchmen, back into the fold if you let this pace drop anymore. So it's the Italians versus the French at this stage. They've got Ayuni, who needs to run fast because the team scores is done on accurate. Salvarolo also needs to try and win this battle or try and pull away from a few of those Frenchmen who are tucked in behind him. Just a replay of how it happened and how the pacemaker peeled off. Well, the other Belgium in that group is Simon de Bonnies, former European junior, silver medalist. And another man who's 27.50 over 10,000. I think they're performing very, very well, those guys, to have run 27.45, 27.50 on the road, and to come out here and back it up on the track. That's the hard part, doing it in these conditions, 25 degrees plus on the track. Championship environment as well. And the development of these European nations, Italy, France, Spain, in the distance races, even Belgium, has been staggering, especially France. You look at them and the power of the Olympic Games, what that did for them going in as a nation. Across the board, in the steeple, the 5K, the 10K, the 1500, they've really developed and leveled up in all of those events with depth. It's going to be a challenge. You know, these men aren't just fighting for the team prize here today. They're also fighting for selection for the European Championships. They know there's Jan Scrub and Jimmy Gressier to come into the fold in Birmingham. So there's only one spot. There's 4 Frenchmen out there and one spot to go to the Europeans in the summer. And that's why I think the French are just starting to get a little cagey. They're less worried. Salvarolo sort of pulled to one side and said, do any of you want to take it up? Absolutely not. They know a selection sits on this one. And it's going to come down to a kick finish to them. Bedard, Guillaume, Baptiste, Augusto, and Gundian all in there, along with the Belgium, the Bonnies, and Salvarolo. So only still leads 6 laps to go for him. He's in the business end of his race. He's just got to clip him off now. In the marathon, he's approaching the 40-kilometer mark, and he's feeling better than ever. For it as well, I'm sure. The 2:04 performer will be so familiar with 2-kilometer repeats. That'll be the next time he comes around, and here's the bell. So all of the 4 Frenchmen in this field are literally 10 seconds spreads them on lifetime best, anywhere from 27.30 to 27.40. That's where their PBs sit. Huge talents over 25 laps. For me, it's Gondian who's possibly the favorite. His half marathon pedigree out of those Frenchmen. 34 for the World Cross Country Championship, 2:07 marathoner. 10th in Rome, over the 10,000. Low 13-minute man over 5,000. Well, he's experienced it all, Gundian, and I think that's why he's one of the favorites in that group. Ayuni still leads him. 5 laps to go, 2:50. Slowest kilometer by far of this one, but you'll often see that in a 10,000. They'll measure. He'll get that 5 seconds back. He'll try and work his way back to 27.30 tempo. Well, so it's Guillaume who leads. Salvarolo obviously leads the group. Guillaume leads the Frenchman at this stage in the shades. The former steeplechaser, 8:29 is best. And one can only presume, because of the depth in that event, decided to step up to the 5,000 and 10,000, and then he thought, goodness me, really? Now everyone decides they're going to run 27.30. It's a time where he was hitting European standards and not even getting a look in over the steeplechase. So many French athletes, 8:10, 8:15. So Ayuni starting a rally, ladies and gentlemen. If you're just joining us, shame on you. You've missed an enthralling 20 laps or so in this one. We're coming into the final 2 kilometers. Elias Ayuni is soon to be a star. If he's not already, he's a European champion in the marathon last year. He's a world bronze medalist over the marathon as well in Tokyo. And now he's looking to fight his way onto the Italian team for the track 10,000 in Birmingham. And what will he be able to do come August? So Guillaume just stretching this chase back out. Salvarolo knows the team title is going to be decided on aggregate times. He's still got 3 Frenchmen with him. The Bonyes of Belgium has just looked dangerous all race long. Very, very controlled. He hasn't had to do any of the work in that group. Gundian, Bedard, Augusto, all amongst it. I'm surprised we haven't seen more of the likes of Ramos, Barata, both of them 27-40 high men.
There we go, what a spectacular final we have.
Manacho struggled as well, was looking to break 28 minutes for the first time on the track.
Goes on. The rhythm is not decreasing, it is increasing.
So the Spaniards are pretty much out of it. This is the race, isn't it? Augusto is waving goodbye to his hopes of competing at the European Championships unless a bunch of those men ahead of him opt for the 5,000. They're capable. They've all run low 13 minutes. Guillaume just waving there, and I wonder why. I wonder if he's saying, is he just drifting out a bit just to say to the Bonyes, get this moving. Come on, let's get after a time. They'll be well aware of the wave lights just drifting away from there. The Bonyes finally just take just one up. Mile to run. 2:48, so a slight pickup in pace from Ilyas Sayuni. He knows he's getting closer and closer. He'll now just wait until the final lap. I wonder what's harder for him. That'd be a good interview question post. What's harder, 2:04 in the marathon or 27:40 so in the 10K? Now this is interesting because those blue lights, I believe, I'm only estimating, I haven't had full confirmation from the meet director, but I believe they're 27:50. That's the standard he so desperately needs. He's been running marathons for the last 18 months to 2 years. He needs that 27:50 if he's going to book his place to Birmingham for the European Championships and compete alongside the likes of Crippa and others. Salvarolo even, who is just going to miss it. And you can't qualify by ranking points. Too many men are inside 27:50, thanks to Valencia. 600 meters to run. He'll start passing well. Look at that. He's lapping Chiera. Perhaps the future of Italian distance running. He'll have to wait a few more years. He's got his work cut out if he's going to compete with this man. It is Sayuni. What a figure. What a story. Championship racer he is. Gutsy performer. Doesn't mind grinding it out. Has been on his own for the last 3 kilometers now. Straight in behind the pacemaker. Got his gap early and, to be honest, stunned that chase group. Couldn't even tempt them to go with him. But ironically, he's now just running the same pace they set off at. So everyone suffered over this last half. You always see it in a 10,000, don't you? 26:44, then 1 lap to run. He's going to have to run inside 65 seconds if he's going to get that qualifying time. It's going to be close for Ayuni. He's going to win here today. What's the story? What's going to happen with those trio of Frenchmen in behind the Bonyes as they hit the bell? Well, it's the Bonyes who leads, and I fear he's the reluctant leader of that chase group. Guillaume sort of turned around and said, hey, mate, do a bit of the work. But nice to offer him that in the final kilometre, just when you don't want to be at the front. Gundian in second. Bedard now has rallied and is in 5th. Salvarolo's been dropped from that group. But all eyes on this man, Ilyas Sayuni. He's kicking hard now. Bronze medalist from the World Championships in the marathon. He needs to stop looking around. The win's his. He needs to focus on 27:50. Watch the clock. He's level with the blue lights there. He needs to be ahead of them if he's going to qualify for Birmingham in the 10,000 meter championships later this summer. He's bounced back from that 2:04 in March. And this is a name for the future on the track. I hope to see more of Ilyas Sayuni. 27:50. Oh my goodness. I think he's going to be absolutely gutted. He has not done enough, and he'll have to wait and see if he gets a ticket to Birmingham. Unofficially, sometimes the times can be corrected. Oh dear. Oh dear. And I wonder if he even knew what that blue light meant. It didn't look like it, did it? 27:50.05 for Ayuni. 27:52 for Bedard. He wins the battle amongst the French trio. Gundian in third there. Bonyes, at least he held off one of the three Frenchmen. Well, Eliassaoni showing what he can do on the track, showing what he can do over 25 laps. Very, very impressive. Did it the hard way. It was a shame he didn't have more of a race, really, wasn't it? We've seen two pretty much solo efforts. Szabo was very similar in the women's. She couldn't hang on to win. Elżbieta Klinker came through. There we go. Well, it's a season's best. I mean, his PB dates back a few years. Ayuni's from Ostrava, 27:45. He was close enough to that. But I wonder what his strategy will be now. Some performance, though. You know, 17th a couple years ago in this very same race, and now he's winning it, dominating it really, but actually only a second quicker. So kind of shows you where this race was, and I think credit to Highgate maybe, the night of 10K PBs in London that hosted the European 10,000 meter cup for a few years. But to finish 17th, his lifetime best was 27:51 back then, and now 27:50 on this occasion for the win in hot conditions down there though, isn't it, trackside? Well, how about it then? It was the Italian women who won the team title. I believe it's going to be the French men who are going to win the team title. That's all but confirmed, really, isn't it? There's no way the Italians are going to match that. Ayuni didn't put enough of a gap of those in behind him. Just a few seconds in the end. Amazing when you think about the lead he had and how it was carved and worked down to just a couple seconds right at the end there. So his coach, Mauro Cavallini, will be very, very happy. And we could see this man opt for the marathon at the European Championships. That Tokyo Marathon really gives him the decision, doesn't it, in March? It's allowed him to recover, to race over the track, and then, you know, work his way. If he doesn't qualify, he can go do the marathon in the summer as well.
Yeah, let's see what happens for the final ranking that we are waiting for the team event for the men. Fingers crossed for the Italian team.
Fingers crossed for the Italian team. I think they're definitely going to be crowned champions.
For the award ceremony, stay with us and follow with us the award ceremony of the 4 categories: individual men and women, and team event for men and women.
I think there's no doubt about it. Winning on home soil. And where will it be next, actually? No venue decided for this one in 2027. Typically, the same location has played host for sort of 3 years in a row. We saw it in France for 3 years. We saw it in Britain for 3 years. It has floated around in its early days. They did change it every year. It would move locations annually, but then they sort of found some consistency, and it allowed the event to really grow and build up each year and make the sort of town, the local community, very aware of what was going on. And so by that sort of second, that third and final year, which often coincided with the Olympic cycle, it was a really, really big event. Huge atmosphere, attracted some big stars as well. So confirmation of the results, ladies and gentlemen. Eliassaoni, winner on this occasion. Simone Bedard, Valentina Gunduan in third there. Hendricks fading back to 12th. He'll be disappointed. 28:34. The European cross-country country bronze medalist.
Because we have the very great final, the celebration of our athletes. We will have the anthems.
Yeah, a tough day for him. Morgan, DNF as well. That's a shame. He's doing so well early. Perhaps just a bit ambitious in that group.
To the European athletics, to the 28th edition of the European 10,000 meter.
So don't go anywhere because we'll have the presentation shortly. So there was never going to be a doubt, was there, the way those last few laps unfolded? France, Italy, Spain, Portugal, Netherlands and Turkey. And beyond that, not many nations actually fielded a team. We'd love to see more. Nations can send up to 6 athletes to this European 10,000 meter cup. And many of them look at it as a chance to expose the younger generation to 10K racing. In Europe, it's not as common as it should be, or as it used to be even. But over in America, NCAA scene, you see 10,000s, they're run regularly 4, 5, 6 times a year. So it is an event that is needed. And we want to continue to see it play out. So we hope we get confirmation of the next host city over the coming months, perhaps. Perhaps watching this has encouraged a few nations to put in a bid for 2027. Well, he knew he was coming here for one thing and one thing only, wasn't he? To win. To win he did. Coach, team, very pleased. Tough conditions out there. But if they want to go all the way to the top, they better get used to it. It only gets hotter. So those presentations will come up shortly as we continue to run through the results and talk about now, how many men. No men inside that European standard, only 3 women inside that European standard. So today hasn't really changed the rankings. I think a lot of people who aren't here will look at this and it would breathe a sigh of relief, because where they sit in the rankings will mean they'll probably end there ahead of the deadline for the European Championships, because I can't see many opportunities to run another 10,000 now. If any, there might be the odd road race that people can target and athletes can look for, but there won't really be another track race to fight your case. So Iuni just misses that 27:50.00 mark. Down to 27:50.05. For the name for the future. Now defending champion Dominic Labalu of the European Championships 10,000, and Nadia Battacletti also. Both of them. Battacletti's opened her season. We haven't seen her race over 5,000 or 10,000, her preferred events. We haven't seen Labalu yet either. So intrigued to see the pair of them, how they develop through the season into that European Championships. And just reflecting back on those races, what is so special, I think, about Elżbieta Klinker's result of Poland is she was actually, coincidentally, the very, very last person on rankings to if they were to pick everyone ahead of her to go to the European Championships. And now she has moved herself. Talk about the only person who's moved on the rankings. It's the winner of that women's race and moved up. She smashed 32 minutes and she's moved up into an auto spot for the European Championships. So congratulations to her. Well, then that caps off a very, very exciting evening for us. We're just waiting for those team presentations to play out. The team prizes will be awarded to France on the men's side, Italy on the women's side. The French men retain their title once again. That's now 2 years in a row, and they're soon becoming the most decorated team here. Spain have won it 10 times, though, so France have got a little way to go before that. It has been going 28 years. Well, the 28th edition, I should say. So we've got a bit of time, just a pause in the program, bit of time to take you through those European rankings actually and where things stand on the road to Birmingham at this stage. I think that's what a lot of people are very intrigued in, and you know, so far 23 women have qualified by time, 3 per nation. The last one in on ranking points was Elżbieta Klinka, who actually now, with that auto time today, inside 32 minutes, will move herself into the top 20. So she's a lock for the European Championships, one would say. And the 3 Spaniards, Gallardo, Bazosa and Prieto, one of which who was here today in Bazosa, but the other 2 weren't, were very, very close, 24th, 26th on the rankings. So they'll have to wait and see. And on the men's side, 33 men qualified by time, 3 per nation. No ranking spots were available, and Ilyas Ayuni, the star, bronze medalist from last year's World Championship Marathon, did not run inside 27.50, ran 27.50.05. 500ths of a second off. I mean, how harsh is that? So he will have to wait and see. I wonder if it will come down to the Italian governing body. I'm sure they would love him to be there. And I'm sure he would as well. When he looks at his season now and what he prepares to do,